Welcome back to the Honest to Goodness podcast, where we give you our honest opinions on good entertainment. Aren't you proud of me that I didn't say Hope Valley Central Station to start this off?
I'm very proud of you, because Lord knows I probably would have. Just like clean.
First try, y'all. First try. I got
round of applause to Kerri for getting our podcast names right. But I mean, it's been 2 months. So I would have given you a pass.
Anyway, y'all have probably forgotten this by now. I mean, like, I don't know.
Just for those out there that might have amnesia or all like, or just, forget, because like I know I mean, for crying out loud, I can't even remember what I had for dinner last night. So, anyways, I'm Morgan. This is Kerri, and we are here to, of course, talk about our favorite show in the world, When Calls the Heart. So once again, it's been
quite the intro.
2 months, guys.
Yeah. So, if y'all have been around with us for any length of time, our last episode that we posted was literally right at 2 months ago, was our interview with Andrew Walker, who was amazing.
Incredible.
Oh yeah, we all should. I mean, even Andrew said we should have been filming ourselves like before he came on, because we were like geeking out. We played it a little more cool once he came on, but before and after we were like geeking.
Oh my god, like guys, I could not stop laughing.
No.
And I was like literally shaking my desk because of my legs shaking. Like I was shaking my desk like this, guys. I'm not even joking right now. Like, my legs were shaking so hard. And I could not stop looking at Kerri like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I just couldn't say it. I couldn't stop saying it.
I think one of my favorite moments in rewatching that episode and rewatching that interview is I think he's actually talking about child trafficking at the particular moment that this happens. Dead serious subject, nothing to laugh about whatsoever. And I just kind of get this, oh my gosh, we're talking to Andrew Walker right now moment, and I look over at Morgan and she looks at me and we're both trying not to laugh.
Because we're having the moment at the same time and we know it. Because like we literally just look at each other and we know, like, okay, this is happening. And we're both realizing it at the same time while he's talking about the most serious, most important thing that anyone can have a conversation about. And you know us. It is very hard.
We're trying to not look at each other because we know it's
we're like literally like trying to just look at him, and it's so hard. And I mean, our cameras are already kind of
not that it's hard to look at Andrew Walker, but
easiest thing in the world. But the thing is, the cameras, you know, they don't always make you think that you're you're looking. Like I'm looking at Kerri right now by doing this, and then I'm looking at myself sometimes too. Sorry, I love myself so. But it doesn't look like I am whenever we're actually recording. So if you guys look back and it doesn't look like we're looking at Andrew or looking at each other, I promise we are.
Yeah.
So if it looks like I'm just staring like this, I'm trying to look at Kerri.
Andrew, if you happen to listen to this, hi.
Hi, we love you. We can't wait to have
We
you back
do.
on.
We
Because
do.
like we literally, guys, we were obviously in contact with him for a while before we actually got to do the interview, because you caught him right before he ended up going to the Bahamas with his wife for their anniversary. So while they were in Bahamas and everything, we weren't obviously blowing his phone up and disturbing him while he's on vacation, but we contacted him before that and kind of met up with him whenever we finally were able to connect our schedules. And when it came time, he was actually like 5 minutes late to the interview. And I remember we were making sure that everything was good with him, like making sure like how long do you want to be on the interview? Like we know that you're at home, personal time with your family. He's got kids.
Like, an hour, and then there's like
an hour,
a 2-hour conversation.
Literally a 2-hour conversation. I looked at my phone because I was kind of just glancing at some of the questions just so that we can kind of, just in case, the conversation maybe ends a little early and we need some fillers, like some rapid fire questions or whatever, I can be prepared. I looked down and I think we started at 12 or 11 or something like that.
It was noon California time.
It was like noon California time. So I look at my phone and it's like 2:30. Which 12 o'clock in California is like 1 o'clock my time and like 2 o'clock her time or something like that, right?
It's a 3-hour time difference. My brain is
anyways. So we were already like an hour and 30 minutes into the interview, and I'm looking at Kerri like, I'm like looking at my phone and I'm like, oh crap. And like he's like, and I'm not, and what's even better is that like I wasn't expecting Andrew to talk this much.
Oh, he talked just as much, if not more than
he talked more than us. So like it was,
and that takes some doing. That takes some doing. I'm just.
We even told him that. I think we were recording when we were saying just get yourself prepared because we're Southern women and we talk fast. And we talk in long sentences or something like that. He's like, "Oh, I'm good. I've been around Southern women." Yeah. So like, I looked at my phone and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, he is never going to want to do an interview with us ever again." And then it hit the 2-hour mark, and I think he finally realized how long we'd been on the interview.
He was like, guys, I've got to quit, but I
gotta go. And I'm like, oh man, this is bad.
And we do actually have, if y'all watched that interview, he actually gave us a writing assignment for him, and we do actually have the movie title, kind of a mock-up poster, and a log line for it. Still got to work on a script. Oh well. I told him though, I did text him and let him know, I was fixing to be in and out of town a lot. So we were working on something, we had part of it and we were working on something else, but that I was fixing to be in and out of town. So it was going to take us a while. Yeah. I did let him know that.
Didn't we actually give him a homework assignment as well?
Yeah, he had to go watch, was it National Treasure?
I think so. He'd never seen National Treasure, you guys, with Nicolas Cage.
I know. I remember us both being like,
what? Blew my mind. Because, like, okay, not to be like judgmental about like guys, but like he's a dude. And it's like Nicolas Cage, treasure hunting. How has he not seen this movie? It is like the most like dude movie Disney has ever put out. Like, come on.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was National Treasure because we were talking about Riley in the.
Yeah, we're talking about how
how his little assistant in the Curious Caterer movie reminded us of Riley. And I think the actor's real name was Riley, wasn't it?
It was.
Okay, I was trying to remember. Oh, his character's name was Mason, and then his
name was Riley.
Yeah, that was it.
But yeah. But I mean, hey,
we're not going to stop fangirling over that interview for quite a while.
I mean, he even freaked out by the fact that we were like not freaked out, but he was like amazed that he was our first male celebrity interview. So that was pretty great. We should like make him a trophy and send it to him.
Oh man, it's so cute. Make him some kind of little plaque. Yeah,
like a little plaque.
Yeah. Okay, but what has been going on in the 2 months that we have not been here? You name it, it's happened, okay?
Pretty much. It all kind of started, I want to say it started with I got slammed with work. We all of a sudden had like 2 people quit, no 2-week notice, just like put their resignation in and walked out.
Weren't we supposed to record one day and you text me? I won't say I was even.
Then she called me.
Like, I'm sorry, I just got called into work. Yeah.
Like I woke up to a phone call of being like, "Hey, can you come into work?" And I'm like, I guess. But hey, it's like my mom has raised me to remember it's job security, so I don't mind. But I was like, oh man, okay. So that happened, and it kept happening, and then what happened? I think something happened with you after that. I can't remember though.
Well, I went out of town at the end of May. I went to Virginia. I've gotten to meet a lot of celebrities lately, y'all. I'm not even kidding. Actually, one that has been in a Hallmark movie as well. Darby Hinton played Jill Wagner's dad in, I think it's Christmas Kisses or Christmas Wishes and Mistletoe Kisses or something like that. I'm drawing I'm drawing a sorry, Darby. I'm drawing a complete blank on the actual title there. And I'm like talking with my hands a lot. I'm sorry. I do that.
I do too, so you're good.
Yeah. But yeah, I have gotten to meet a lot of celebrities lately. So I got to meet Darby, got to meet Nancy Stafford that played in Matlock with Andy Griffith, Kathy Garber played Sissy in Family Affair, Dream of Denver, Bob Denver's widow. He played Gilligan in Gilligan's Island and a bunch of other stuff.
I didn't know that.
Trina Parks. She was the first African-American Bond girl in the James Bond movies. She was interesting to talk to. So yeah, I got to meet
a bunch of people. You telling me that you met those 2 people. I didn't know you met Gilligan.
No, he's passed away, but I met his wife.
Oh.
Yeah. He passed away years ago.
Okay. Because that's like the only show besides Matlock that you've mentioned that I've watched.
Serious, when I got her books, like I got one of her books, and then I got a book that Bob had written before he died, and she was signing them to me. And on Bob's book, I think it's like Gilligan, Maynard, and Me, I think is the name of the book. And I was like, oh, I didn't even see it had Maynard on there. I love Dobie Gillis. And she just looks up at me and goes, you are too young to know Dobie Gillis. And I was like, no. And I start listing off all these TV shows, and she just looks at me and goes, and you're not getting a bobblehead?
That is the best response ever.
I was like, maybe at Bayberry Days. I'm on a bit of a budget right now. I only brought so much cash with me, but yeah, sure, you know.
I mean, it makes sense. Why not? Everybody should have a bobblehead. I got one.
Well, it's a Gilligan. It's a Gilligan bobblehead. So yeah. Of course you got Spider-Man. Of course you got Spider-Man.
But
so I got back from that trip, was home for maybe not even a full week. And then I turned around and went to Mississippi because while I was in Virginia at that other event, I had literally just told my dad a few days before that I wanted to meet Robert Fuller. We had been watching Emergency, and Robert Fuller played Dr. Kelly Brackett in that show. And Morgan doesn't really hear me talk about guys this way, but I was like, he was a good looking guy back in the day.
It's so funny because like I feel like I'm the only one that talks about how like good looking guys are or actors are more than she does. Like the only guy that I've ever heard her talk like that about was Tyler. Is Tyler Hines. That's it.
Yeah.
And of course, Kevin McGarry too. But like a lot of that's obviously a conversation I've created. So
yeah.
But
when I'm texting her about this guy, and she's just kind of like, okay. And I sent her some pictures from his younger days, and she was like, okay, I see it. I was like, you don't normally hear me talk about guys this way, do you? She's like, no, I don't.
And new Kerri.
I was in Virginia, and I found out about this festival going on in Mississippi either the next weekend or the weekend after that. That Robert Fuller was going to be at. And I'm like, okay, I got to go. You know, he's like 90% of the reason I'm at this festival. And then it gave me a chance to meet I skipped a part from Virginia. When I was with a couple that lived in South Carolina, I had like picked them up, driven to Virginia. And then when I dropped them off in South Carolina, I drove 2 or 3 more hours to Charleston and met up with our sweet friend Nicole, who we love dearly. It was so fun to get to hang out with her. We were actually going to record this episode that night. And
I guess you had to work.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like something happens every time. So yeah,
we did get to go live. I know, I'm sure a lot of you guys didn't get to see that, but we did get to go live on Instagram, where we kind of pulled another stunt where it's me and Nicole. We're talking about the show. We're talking about different things. You know, it starts out on her podcast, and it's my Team Nathan Grant account, and we're just talking. And next thing you know, Kerri jumps in the room like, "Hi, I'm here." And the best part is whenever we get Casey and Amy, it took both of them a solid like minute or two.
What was even better, like Casey was just in the comments. She wasn't even on the live.
She wasn't even on the live yet. Yeah, she was like steady commenting.
And then it like dawns on her, I didn't even know we're in the same room. And then we're like, where is Amy? Like, we could not get Amy. So I FaceTimed her. And I was like, hey, can you jump on Instagram Live for a minute? And I mean, I did not have a problem with the fact that she actually joined the live, but that wasn't what I meant. I was just meaning like for her to watch it. And, but I mean, it was more fun that she was actually on the live. It was
way more fun to actually see her physical reaction.
Yeah. So she hopped on and she's like, okay, so what's the big deal? What's so exciting? Whatever. And I'm like sitting there, I'm like pointing between me and Nicole, and she's like, oh my God.
I never laughed so hard on a live, I think, in my life. Like, that was gold. It took both of them a solid minute or two to realize they were in the same room, which I get it, but at the same time, it was so funny. It was so funny.
Oh man, it was so great. So yeah,
and then of course, and that's when Amy classically gave Kerri an idea of doing like a podcast tour, where she tours all over the US to all of our podcast buddies and like goes live with them and talks to them.
Yes, that would be awesome. Hey, I'm down.
That would be cool.
So in Mississippi, that gave me the opportunity to meet up with my friend Michaela, who I believe actually does follow our podcast, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, she's like on our
she's been on our lives a lot.
She's on our lives a lot. She's always commenting on our Instagrams. Like, she's a very big part of our
Michaela and I have been friends for like 6 or 8 years from when I used to run a classics Instagram. And this was the first time she and I had ever gotten together in person. That was the first time Nicole and I had ever met in person. Crazy. And then this was the first time Michaela and I were able to meet in person. So
and I was actually going to try and meet up with them in Mississippi, because obviously where the event was happening, I was going to be only like 4 hours away. But again, work.
Mm-hmm. And your mom was sick.
Oh yeah, my mom was sick. Mm-hmm. She ended up catching like a stomach bug. Not long after this one got home from Mississippi, she came home sick with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And then what was it, like maybe 2 weeks later, I get sick with COVID.
And I was in Indiana.
Yeah, and she ended up being in Indiana at the Hardy's event. That's why I couldn't go to the Hardy's event. Plus, I couldn't get tickets because at the time we thought we were going on vacation around the same time as guys, it's been ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, just, we can't make this stuff up. We really can't. I mean, the amount of times that we have, like, literally had things booked solid. Like, we knew for a fact this was happening. We had it planned down to the hour. Something just blows it up. It's crazy.
I was in Indiana at a Hardee's event, and in the in-between times, like sometimes I would have like 2 hours or something in between stuff. And I would go back to my hotel room and I would be watching Instagram lives of Nicole and Kristen and Casey and Cammie and all them at Rama Drama in Florida. And Morgan's texting me going, okay, next year we are going because everybody's having too much fun without us.
Like, it was so unfair, y'all. It was so unfair. And then, guys, Brian Bird announced that they're bringing back the Hardee's family reunion.
Yeah.
So me and her need to get passports because we want to go to Canada.
Yeah. My only question is, can you do that without vaccine?
Yeah, if anybody can fit
for us,
like comment below.
I Googled that info the other day and I honestly got confused.
Yeah.
On that.
Google, I love Google, but at the same time, I feel like Google doesn't really actually give you the full answer.
Yeah. And if y'all didn't know, guess who I got to meet in Indiana? The queen herself, Jeanette Oak. I mean,
and Brian Bird.
Well, I had already met Brian.
Well, yeah.
Sorry, Brian, you're old news at this point. I'm sorry, buddy.
We love you, but yeah.
I met him last year. He's old news at this point. No, I'm just kidding. I loved talking to Brian again. He was so sweet. Patty recognized me, came over and gave me a hug. She was so sweet. And Andrew, if you're listening, I did tell Brian that we talked to you and that you wanted to come back as Billy Hamilton.
Or his twin.
I did. Well, I just said that he wanted to come back as Billy Hamilton. And he said, he was like, oh, okay, Andrew's great. So that was his response. And that was about the extent of our conversation because there was a lot of people there.
Hey, that's a little bit of something, Andrew. There you go. Just hit Brian up. Be like, hey, man, raise me up.
Yep. I did pass along the info as promised. So yeah, Jeanette was an absolute angel. I had never met her before, but I had exchanged some emails with her. So when I told her my name, she was like, well, of course. And she got up and gave me a hug, asked how I was doing since my mom passed away. Of course, y'all know she lost her husband recently as well. And so, we talked about that and just, how God's getting us through this and blah, blah, blah. And then the next day before she left, she made a point to come over and give me a hug and tell me goodbye and stuff. So she was so sweet. Love her so much. She was, if y'all ever get the chance to meet her, do it. She is awesome.
And just to brag on how great of a friend Kerri is, she sent me a postcard that has When Calls the Heart on the front of it. And I got Brian Bird's autograph, Jeanette Oak's autograph, and Courtney Cott's. Michelle. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. I got those. I got one for me. I got one for you. I sent one to Nicole. I sent one to Kristen, and then I sent one to my friend Michelle, who is also a big Hardy. So I just got mine in.
I just was able to get mine in, I guess, because of 4th of July craziness. But
yeah,
I got mine in.
To get hers,
yeah.
So, but yeah, and I tried to, when I got cards, I picked out for Kristen and Nicole. I found these blank cards that I was just able to write whatever I wanted to inside of them, but they had butterflies all over them, but the butterflies were red, white, and blue, which is perfect if y'all know how big of postables those two are. And Rita, just like butterflies are a big thing. Well, owls are more of them, I guess, but I don't know. To me, butterflies just remind me of Rita. I don't know. But obviously the red, white, and blue being, the postal colors.
And technically the Mountie colors, except swap the white with gold, right?
This is true.
Because the joppers are blue or like navy with gold, yellow / color.
Yeah.
So you kind of got it all wrapped up in a neat little bow. Okay. I guess I can go get my card. 1 second.
So yeah, guys, we are while Morgan's getting that. There she is. Yeah, we're gonna finally recap episode 9 of When Calls the Heart. And I'm just gonna be honest, it's been like 2 months. I don't even remember what happened in episode 8. Okay. And this was kind of a unplanned thing. So my notebook with notes is at home. And you'll know I recorded at my grandmother's house. So I can't even look back at my notes from episode 8 to tell you what happened. So we're just gonna do our best with this, okay?
You guys know what happens. We've already recapped it. You're good.
Yeah.
I mean, what else? I mean, you guys know us. And for those of you that don't know us, I'm sorry this is your first impression, but at least you're getting something. But you guys know how we are.
Yeah.
It's been 2 months. We both have had COVID.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting real. But this is it. I don't know if you guys.
Yeah.
It's so pretty.
You
You guys
see
can
it.
see it. There we go.
There you go. Yeah.
And it's got, well, I'm trying to see if it'll. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Brian Bird, Michelle Cox, and Jeanette Oaks.
Yeah.
Isn't that so cool? And my card is, it has a little, it's got a mailbox with the bird and flowers, and it says, I can't always be with you, but I'm always thinking about you. Isn't she sweet? And it says, Miss King to share the Hardy's event with you, but you were definitely not forgotten. Love you. God bless, Kerri. And if you guys don't know that about me, but I keep just about every card I get from people. So this is going with my collection.
Yeah. So after that half hour of y'all hearing what's been going on in our lives for the past 2 months, welcome to our show. People who listen to our podcast have been with us since we were Hope Valley Central Station and pretty much already know. And we've tried to keep y'all updated as we've gone along. You know, we tried to occasionally hop on Instagram and, you know, let y'all know, sorry, we're sick. Sorry, I'm out of town. Sorry. Okay, now I'm sick and, you know, whatever. So we've tried to keep y'all somewhat updated. But yeah, if y'all are not used to our doing our best with the crazy hand life has dealt us at this point, I'm sorry. I don't think you're ever going to get used to it.
It's just us. We're just being real.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
that's one thing that you guys always say. Like, I remember our first live, everybody's like, oh my God, we love you. You guys are so real. And we want you, like, everybody was like telling us that we needed to start a podcast. So here we are.
Y'all asked for this mess, okay?
Yeah. Blame yourselves. So look at the mirror. You always say be careful what you ask for.
For real, though. Oh man. But for real, guys, we love y'all so much. Thank y'all for all the people that have reached out to us, checking on us, letting us know y'all are praying for us, and you know, just all the support we've gotten, and for sticking around. And
it's a lot.
Still being here. Definitely does mean a lot. And we are still trying to get other interviews lined up and stuff. And hopefully we'll have, obviously I was just at the Hardy's event. A lot of everybody was just at Rama Drama. So I'm trying to pull together a special episode with several of our podcast friends and, you know, talk about our experiences at these places and fangirl and just play some fun games and whatever. And it should be a really fun episode if I can get.
Yeah, I'll just be kind of sitting here like I was at work.
Yeah.
I just had fun.
You and Hannah, if she's able to make it, are both just going to be sitting over there like, yeah, glad y'all had fun.
We're so glad that you guys got to go and do this. So glad. And thank you so much for all the lives and pictures and videos to rub it in our faces.
Oh man.
No, I'm so glad. I'm so glad that you guys did that. Like it helped.
Yeah.
I was glad I was able to look at that at least. But I guess without further ado and enough yakking, I guess we need to start yakking about the episode.
I guess so.
So
So this particular episode, and again, we are talking about episode 9 of season 9 of When Calls the Heart. By the way, quick interjection here. Congratulations on a season 10 renewal. So excited about
Late
that.
to the party as always, but here we go.
Yeah. A queen is never late. Everyone else is simply early.
A quote by the beautiful and incomparable Queen Clarice, played by Julie Andrews. That's like the only movie me and you love at the same time. It's not like a Hallmark movie. That is a serious accomplishment. Besides National Treasure.
Yeah. High five. All right.
We bonded over National Treasure and Princess Diaries.
Yeah. We knew there had to be something, y'all. We couldn't figure it out, but we knew it had to be something. Okay. So this episode starts off with Elizabeth. Okay, now this kind of, like, it was sweet in a way, kind of creeped me out. Because Elizabeth, like, comes down the stairs in her house, and there's roses sitting there with a note from Lucas. You know, he had sent her roses for her birthday, and of course she calls him and, you know, where did you get roses this time of year? And he's like, happy birthday. You know, they're talking, and I'm thinking, okay, but who brought the roses in her house without knowing there was somebody in her house?
Robert.
That is actually a really good thought. I don't know why that.
Like, Robert, boundaries. That is your teacher. Or your old teacher, but it's Mrs. Thornton. Yeah,
I don't like that thought just kind of crossed my mind. Okay, yeah. Like, because I mean, obviously, even if she, you know, even if she's, I don't even remember. I guess they're out of school for the summer at this point, because there's no scenes.
It's very hard to remember. I want to say they were out of summer, but at the same time, it felt like the time in Hope Valley means, like, it makes no sense.
It doesn't. But I mean, like, even if she had just gotten home, like, if she had just gotten home, she would have walked in and seen them there. So it wasn't like something that happened while she was gone.
Yeah. So
she would have had to have been upstairs when these roses got delivered. Like, did somebody come in the middle of the night and put these roses on her table, or what happened here? I need answers. I need to know who snuck in Elizabeth's house and left these roses.
My vote is Robert. Robert Wolf.
That is actually a really good thought. I
can see Robert doing that. I could see him being like, well, I don't want to disturb her, so I'll just sneak in here and place him on the table and flatly.
Yeah.
So, anyways.
Oh man. I love, though, like, after Lucas and Elizabeth get off the phone, Lucas is talking to Gustaf, and he's like, you know, after what happened with the book signing, I am not planning any surprise parties. He was like, Elizabeth wants this kept quiet and just us. That's what she's gonna get, you know. And Gustaf's like, do you want me to do such and such? And Lucas is like, no thanks. You know, just like, okay, just leave this alone, man, you know. And Lucas starts walking out of the office, and Gustaf says something in French. He's like, do you just disregard the fact that I speak French too? And Gustaf's like,
I love Gustaf. He has truly become, like, one of my favorite little side characters that just kind of comes in and out of nowhere with, like, the best witty lines. Like, I love it. I love it.
And I love the fact that, like, just kind of out of nowhere this season, we found out that him and Lucas are cousins. It's like, where the heck did that come from?
I feel like we should have known, though. I don't know why, but I feel like we should have known.
Like, why do you think he's still working here?
Yeah, exactly. Like, we should have known by all the sassy comments that there should have been something there for Gustaf to have, like, ability to stay as the chef there. And not have gotten fired by Lucas by the time that is.
Remember the mushrooms? Remember the mushrooms?
Oh my gosh, the bloody mushrooms.
I love just the look on Gustaf's face, like, Pretty much. When Lucas is like, you just completely
Like,
disregard.
you know who I am. Do you expect anything less? Like, I love that attitude because that's pretty much us.
He is hilarious. I love him. Oh man.
And one thing that was we got a mention from of Abigail on the phone call.
Yes.
Which was nice. It was nice.
Yes. I thought it was funny that again, just kind of going to the I think their little team name is Henry Gale. Thing of Lucas asking Elizabeth if she has Abigail's phone number because he's looking for Henry.
I love it.
God, I love it. It's like we don't even get to see them together and we're still fangirling over it.
Right? Like just the mention of their names together is just like,
I like how we did that in unison. Like
harmonization.
God, we have hardly even FaceTimed in like this 2-month period.
Yeah.
So the fact that
and we haven't even really gotten to talk about the show either.
Yeah.
Like when we do FaceTime, it's about personal stuff.
I'll be completely honest. I'm not even sure I have seen every single minute of the finale. This is how busy
I don't think
been.
I have. Actually, I take that back. The only reason why I've even watched the finale is because of my mother. Yeah. My mom has been on point with like watching them either the night they come out or like the next day. That is the only reason why I've watched the last like few episodes. Like,
guys, I'm just proud of myself that I finally today watched, and this is like July 6th that we're recording this. I finally today watched Chris's new movie that came out in April. I'm so proud of myself. I have finally watched that.
At least you watched it. Because I feel like had it not been for Mom, once again, I probably still wouldn't have watched it.
Yeah.
But it was actually really good. Can I just say it was really, really good?
It was.
Like, this was probably the best role Chris has done, in my opinion. Including
I really felt like you could see his growth as an actor.
I think it also helped that it was a movie involving dogs, because we know Chris loves his dogs.
It made him more comfortable, I'm sure, like just kind of at home.
By the way, Chris is now a daddy? Like, yes. What?
Talk about being secretive about your relationship.
Right?
Like, people have been speculating this whole time that him and Julie were, I think her name's Julie, isn't it?
Julie or Julia? Julia Gonzalez, I think, is her name.
So
who is gorgeous. And beautiful, like incredible actress. They met was on their movie. I can't even think of the name of it, but that's how they met.
Yeah. And people have just been like speculating because they don't post pictures together or anything. The only thing that has given us any inclination that they were together was because they each take pictures with their dog, the dogs. Yeah. Yeah. I know one of them's name is Bodhi, right? I don't even remember.
I can't remember right now, but like it's so funny because like she'll take pictures of them with them, and like he'll take pictures almost in the same area with them, and so
they don't post any pictures together.
They don't post any pictures together. They don't do anything on Instagram.
Nobody. The only thing, there was no indication she was even pregnant, and then all of a sudden we get this post of like them holding the baby's hand, and it's like what?
Okay.
Congratulations, Chris.
I think the only thing that, and then I think not long, it was like around season 8, we were obviously getting all the cameos from Kevin, and he did a cameo with Chris, and I think she was in the background because they were at their house in Toronto. Like that was like the last thing we'd even gotten from them at all that gave any inclination that they were together. And then now they're mom and daddy. Like, come on.
Talk about I applaud them for keeping their relationship so
absolutely.
Like I love,
but it's still so funny because like then you have because you also
Kevin and
Kayla over here. They're like literally in every Instagram story together, every picture on Facebook is pretty much them. If they're not in the picture, they're commenting hearts and kisses and all that kind of stuff. It's hilarious. And
Chris and Kevin are though.
Yeah, I know.
Like as people, you know, like I don't know. It's hilarious. I mean, congratulations to them.
Absolutely, congratulations, Chris and Julia.
That was we were just like, wait, what? When? How?
Right? And it kind of makes sense because I think they were at a Hallmark event, and Andrew Walker took a picture. I think it was him and Chris, and I want to say Wes Brown. And it was like dad's night out or whatever, and like everyone was like, why is Chris in the photo? Chris is not a dad. And then here we get the photo, so we're like, oh, okay, no, it makes sense.
Oh man, y'all. So I was
like, hold up.
Yeah. Okay, so in kind of these episodes of When Calls the Heart, we have the oil deal trying to go on where Lucas is wanting to sell his shares of the oil company, get out of the business, start something different. And of course, Henry is very concerned over the fact that they're going to reopen the mines, you know, like that he feels like they might reopen the mines. And obviously Fiona is, you know, wanting to, Mike Hickam gave her his shares of the oil company, so she's kind of the major
part in it because she's having connections in San Francisco, which is where she's been up until this episode.
And Mike was in charge of the oil company, so now that he stepped down, Fiona has been in charge, so she is trying to negotiate all these deals. So she has been in San Francisco, and Henry went to San Francisco as well to do this. So in episode 9, Fiona comes back, and okay, I'm gonna go here for a second. I'm sorry. Their outfits match way too much for them to not be a couple. I'm sorry, but they would make like
they both speak French. They're both a businessman and a businesswoman. They know all about dealing with business and being a part of a business and creating a business. I mean, guys, I could seriously see them wearing something almost similar to one another, and they're sitting in the saloon having dinner, and they're literally just talking and maybe like whispering sweet nothings in each other's ear in French. Like I see it clear as day, and I see it as the cutest thing in the entire world.
Yeah,
because I always do
that. To be clear, before we get a bunch of people hating on us here, we're not saying we're ever going to get this. We're not saying Lucas and Elizabeth are ever going to split up. We're not saying that. We're just saying we thought we see something that had some really great potential, and they didn't go with it. And I'm sorry, but our creative brains can't. Me and my country can't.
Can't. Okay. Can't ever could. Can't ever could.
Ain't never could do nothing.
Yeah.
Oh. Y'all, it's not even late at night. We're
just pathetic. At this point, we're just pathetic.
Oh my gosh.
And the same thing has to kind of do with like when we see something, when we see any kind of chemistry that just speaks to us, our brains just can't help but to formulate these scenes in our brains of clearly happening. I mean, yeah.
Well, and we just have creative minds, okay? Yeah. Like literally,
it doesn't take a whole lot to inspire us either.
Yeah, literally, I'm in Mississippi for the event that I was going to, and I had just met Darby Hinton like a week or so before, and in my brain I'm kind of going, okay, is he even going to recognize me, you know, when he sees me or not, you know? So I was thinking about all that and thinking about conversations with him about, you know, wanting to get into the business and, you know, whatever. And all of a sudden I start coming up with this movie idea, And what did it take me? Like 5-10 minutes?
Yeah, because you texted me like saying, I have an idea, and blah blah blah. You were kind of giving it off to me. I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. And you had it literally written up on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Like you got a piece of paper out of your hotel room or something, and you wrote it down real quick. Like I was like, okay.
And gave it to him the next day. That's another script I was working on. But I'm like, this is just how our brains work. Okay. Yeah. Like this there is no hatred towards any character. No. There is no bitterness towards decisions that were made, nothing like that. This is just how our creative brains work.
Honestly, that's kind of what helped. Like that's kind of what we saw as showing us that it wasn't Lucas that we had a problem with, because we clearly liked it. We love his character. We love what he was brought to Hope Valley and do the show. And that's why we wanted him with Fiona, is because we saw where they could help each other out and become better people.
I can picture her keeping him on his toes.
Oh, yeah.
Is the thing. Like, I can picture her kind of giving him a little bit of trouble. And that imagery just like cracks me up every time I think about it. Yeah. Although I will say there is one really cute scene between Kevin and Kayla. Nathan and Fiona. Sorry, it was totally Kevin and Kayla. Okay,
it was Kevin and Kayla. It was Kevin and Kayla dressed as Fiona and Nathan. Okay, let's just get real. Yeah. Let's just get real. And I seriously want to know how many times it took them to take that. Like how many times it took them to get that from point A to point B.
Or even if that was actually in the script, or if that was just she did.
Because she talked about it on Paul Green's podcast, where it's like they could not be in the same scene together because of the fact that they would both start cracking up at each other for no reason, just from looking at each other. Yeah, which I feel is very much like me and you.
It was like I could be across the room for him and just start giggling, like not even be
giggling like a little schoolgirl
in the scene, and he just makes her giggle, whatever. They are seriously the cutest.
They're like couple goals, man. Like serious top-notch goals. But the one in the Matty office where she's just like, about time, where have you been? Like, hello, I guess serious business here. Like, isn't this your office? Like, you shouldn't you like, be in your office?
And she's like, are you coming? Like, yes, ma'am.
Aye, Captain.
Yeah, that scene was hilarious.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Okay, another hilarious scene in this particular episode. Do you remember when Bill brings his dirty laundry into the mercantile because they have washing machine, like automatic washing machines?
It's so crazy whenever you look at things like that coming into this world.
Yeah.
And you see how crazy different. Like, and it's like, how are they getting these things? Like, are they building them? Are they finding them and fixing them up? Like, they don't necessarily have to work to be on TV, but like, how are they finding these gadgets and gizmos? Like, even Ned with his toaster.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, Ned the
inventor.
But like, where are they? Like, I'm just kind of looking at some of this stuff, and I'm like. It's so crazy to think, because like that was like a long time ago. Like we're not even in the 20s yet, and you're finding stuff that was all the way back in the early 1900s.
Yeah, this would be like 1918, I think.
Yeah, it's like 1918, 1919. Like it's very close to the 20s, but not quite.
Yeah. But I love when Bill brings his dirty laundry in and was like, "Here you go, I'll pick it up later." And Molly's like, "Florence is not a washwoman." And Bill's like, "Well, certainly she doesn't expect me to buy one of these things without knowing if it works." I mean, he's got her over.
He's got a point. He
really does. And then he walks out of there, and he runs into Mike, and Mike's like, "How's how are you? How's your day going? Whatever." And he's like, "Well, whenever my day starts off with somebody taking in my dirty laundry, I call that a good day." Like,
I love Bill.
Oh man. But then in that conversation with Mike, we get a bombshell. He's considering resigning as mayor. The man literally just got elected. And I mean, Hope Valley days. Everybody loved Hope Valley days.
I mean, and obviously all of you guys that are watching this video, y'all pretty much know what happens in the end in the finale, which only makes this whole storyline that much more not making sense.
Yeah.
Like this whole Mike as mayor, like other than obviously doing the fire hose and like the Hope Valley days, like that's the only things that he brought to the table that actually made like that was beneficial from it.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm glad that he got, and I'm sorry, he'll always be Hickam. He will never be
Always,
Mike.
he'll never be Mike.
Always be Hickam.
Always.
Always be Hickam. But like I'm really grateful that he got more of a major storyline.
Oh, absolutely.
I just say that the storyline itself, personally, to me, really made a lot of sense. You know, like I don't.
I feel like we didn't, because like in season 8, we were just kind of hitting the iceberg with him doing like the pipeline.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, mayor.
Yeah.
It, like kind of came out of nowhere a little bit. Like I'm glad Fiona got what she got. Like I'm
by accident.
Right.
But,
well, I mean, my thing is this is like usually when, and plus it didn't really make sense that they picked Hickam just because Bill and Lee tied. Because I feel like they would have just been like, okay, well, Hickam, you're out of it. We're going to do another round of votes, and everyone's just going to vote.
No, we figured this up mathematically of like if, say, Hickam got 40% of the vote. I'm just going to throw a number out here. Say Hickam got 40% of the vote, and Bill and Lee got 60% of the vote, but you split that, they would have only gotten 30% of the vote each. So Hickam would have become mayor because he got the most individual votes, because like Lucas voted for
Lee.
Yeah, no, Lucas I think voted for Bill and Elizabeth voted for Lee. And you know, whatever. So it was like,
which also was kind of shocking. I don't know why I didn't expect Lucas to vote for Bill. I kind of figured he would have voted for Lee.
Yeah.
And I would have expected Elizabeth to vote for Bill.
Okay, I don't know, like something say Lucas and Bill and Lee was reminding me of the scene where Lucas is trying to tell that joke, and it'll be Bill and Lee are just standing there looking at him like,
By the way, we still haven't found out what Lucas gave Allie for her birthday. I mean, for her adoption.
I know.
Another black hole. But
oh man. Okay, now this I did feel kind of bad, and if this particular lady is listening to this, hi. But I did feel kind of bad. And I mean, we had this entire conversation in Indiana, so you know this is like no secret. There was a table full of people around us, so it was no secret.
I mean, when you go to a heart event, you're obviously going to talk about the triangle. So I mean, what do you expect?
Yeah. So we're sitting around the table, and me and this one lady get in a conversation about John Tinker. And we're actually talking about season 10. And I was expressing how glad I was that they have a new showrunner coming out. So for those who have not been watching because of what happened in season 8 and season 9, I mean, yeah, they're still going to continue with the story, but we do have a new showrunner coming up. So just saying, maybe there's some hope.
Anyway. And I mean, we've talked about John Tinker on this podcast on our lives so many times.
Well, I mean, I said it one of the last times you and I talked, that I would, like, if Brian were to have asked me, you know, what I thought, that I would tell Brian outright, you need to fire John.
I think Tinker. He knows better than to ask a fan's opinion.
Yeah, I think so.
About anything.
But I'm just saying, I would not hide that. Like, I would not hide my opinion on that. I would be honest. I would not try to be cruel, but I would be honest. So we're having this conversation about season 10 coming up, and John Tinker and whatever. And this other lady that had met last year as well at the same event last year was like, why do you think John Tinker was so bad as a showrunner? And I'm looking at her. Okay, full disclosure, this lady was Team Lucas. Like full disclosure on that. She was Team Lucas.
I love how that's a disclosure.
I did not know until that moment. Actually, I did not know that. Because again, the majority of people there were Team Nathan.
They were. And it was the majority of Team Nathan the last Hardy event that they had down there at the Red Barn Theater.
Now this will crack you up. Sorry, I'm gonna keep sidetracking here. That Brian was talking about that decision, and he was again standing by that. This was going to be the decision all along. We wanted to make you think it was going to be this, and I don't know. I don't know. I'm
liar.
Oh man, I'm just saying. I might not let you be on here if I ever talk to Brian.
I'll be good.
Oh my God.
I might have to put duct tape over my mouth at times, but I'll be good.
No.
Look. My thing is just this. Okay. We know the truth. It has come out. We literally have evidence, and I know you've seen the evidence. So why not just admit it?
Now I will say this. We keep saying we have photographic evidence that the script was changed the night before. We do. We don't know for sure what those changes were.
Though we have a pretty serious inkling, seeing as so many cast members, well, not necessarily cast members, but crew members have even come out and talked about it.
Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like there's a lot there that they can't talk about. So
legally,
I've met Brian, and I specifically
I don't blame Brian for the decision. Let me make that clear. I don't blame Brian Bird for the decision. I blame the new CEO.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. Anyway, so he was talking about all that, and talking about everybody's reactions and stuff. And I also got to meet, what was his name? Elliot from Edify Films. He's like the president of Edify Films, and he was awesome. Like literally, I met the guy. I've ordered from Edify Films one time, and I'm standing in line actually to meet Jeanette Oak, and Elliot is talking to somebody in front of me, and he's like, "Is Kerri Brown here yet?" And I just hold my hand up, and he was like, "Oh,
I forgot about this."
Whatever. And I was like, "I'm good." And you are? And he held his hand out, and he went, "I'm Daniel Lissing. I played Jack Thornton on With Call Sorry."
I forgot about this.
People, kept like, I couldn't, people kept recognizing me, and it was just getting too annoying, getting bombarded by people. So I had to have some work done, and he was awesome. Loved the guy. He was hilarious. I actually found out from somebody else later on who he was, because he never told me who he was. So I found out that later. But anyway, Brian, there's a panel going on, and Brian is talking about all this stuff. And he was kind of saying, okay, here's what made us make the decision to go with Lucas instead of Nathan, and blah, 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 blah. And I think it was Michelle Cox got the microphone, and she was like, although I did think I had a pretty good idea, and I told Brian he needed to start season 9 off with Elizabeth waking up from a nightmare, and she had picked the wrong guy in her nightmare, and blah, blah, blah. Jeanette held her hand out like, give me the microphone. So they handed her the microphone, and she said, I thought I had a pretty good idea too. I told them they should have gotten rid of both of them and brought in a new preacher.
Hey, even I agree with that now.
Brian was like, I wish I'd have thought of that. We already got a new preacher.
Joseph.
I know, but it was just hilarious. Like, if you could have seen the crowd's reaction, it was hilarious. Of course, we're talking about 3 seasons ago.
Yeah.
Instead of going with all this, that they had done that. But just her chiming in there like that was hilarious.
Even though she was, I guarantee you, was Team Lucas. because of the way that she talks about how Mounties are no longer in.
Yeah, I really don't know. Like, she is
But
anyways
anyways,
and stuff. And yeah,
I'm
even talking about all that.
we were talking about the new showrunner and how you were talking about this lady who you were having a conversation with who was Team Lucas.
So she asks me, why do you think John Tinker is such a bad showrunner? And me and this other lady that are having this conversation look at each other and our eyes get big, and I turn around to look at her. I'm like, dropped storylines, black hole, too much. I was like, he's turned it into a soap opera, which is what he's done with Chesapeake Shores and anything else he's ever had his hands on, from what I hear from people. And I just like start listing off all this stuff, and she's looking at me and she's like, part of that was editing. And I was like, yeah, like some stuff, because I brought up, like the fact that if Lucas was going to be the one chosen, they should have had more scenes with him and Little Jack. And I was like, there was that one scene filmed, but they cut it out. She was like, well, that's editing. That's not his fault. And I was like, no, I agree.
But the fact that he went on live, his wife's Facebook Live, and admitted to dropping the ball on that.
Yeah.
That's how editing.
I told her, I was like, he has flat out admitted on multiple lives and
really blame editing on that, because, like, okay, you admit to filming one scene out of that whole season,
and everybody's saying, "Oh, COVID, they couldn't have that many scenes with the kids." Nathan had several scenes with Little Jack that season. So,
obviously, it didn't hurt him to have that one scene that ended up getting cut.
Yeah. But anyway, so I'm having this conversation with this lady, and I'm like pointing all this stuff out, and she's like, I'm actually kind of responsible for him getting involved in that show. I was like, what? She was like, yeah, he would bring his wife's car in to get service at the car dealership I worked at. And she was like, he would always come in with his Bible and his laptop, and, he's just a good Christian man and whatever. And she was like, I told him he needed to look into this show. So she was like the one that got him involved in that. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I feel a little bit bad right now that I'm sitting here dogging. I mean, I believe everything I'm saying, but I feel a little bit bad that I'm sitting here dogging him.
Yeah.
And she's sitting right there, and she was like, do you read Rhonda Rich's blog? And I was like, who? And I was like, I don't even know who that is. And she was like, that's John Tinker's wife. I was like, oh, like I didn't even recognize the name. And I was like, no. I was like, I have heard from a lot of people that, she seems kind of like up on her high horse and whatever. And the other lady I was having a conversation with was like, yeah, I read her blog post one time and I'll never read it again. And she was like, really? And I was like, yeah. The lady was like, yeah, she was not very nice to a lot of parties. Like, she said a lot of stuff she shouldn't have said. She was very cruel and whatever. And this other lady's like, I haven't heard any of this. And we're just like,
sorry.
Okay. I felt terrible. Like, it was such an awkward moment.
It's kind of crazy that she's kind of like taking credit for him getting the job. Because my thing is this, you can't necessarily take credit for that. Like, sure, you could have told him to get involved with the show, but at the end of the day, whether he gets involved or not was not up to him or her. It was up to Hallmark itself.
Well, she was the one that gave him the steer, though, and she is a kind of predominant Hardy that's done a lot of stuff for years. So, whatever.
Still, but I will say this: like, first of all, he should not have gotten as many seasons as he got being the showrunner.
Yeah, he should have never gotten a second season after
he should not have. I don't feel bad for him getting fired. Sorry. He's a great writer, but he is a horrible showrunner.
And I told her that. I told her.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal writer.
I was like,
a lot of my favorite Nathan scenes he wrote.
And that's what I told her. I said some of my favorite episodes were actually ones that he wrote. I was like, he is a great writer. He's a terrible showrunner. So I specifically
which made it more confusing.
Yeah.
Because he wrote such incredible Nathan scenes.
Mm-hmm.
But yet the outcome that we got was, which only brings me back to the point that it was not John Tinker or Brian Bird as to why things happened the way they happened. I do not believe that it was their fault at all. I still blame the CEO. Sorry. My opinion, I'm accepting any slack on that. But my thing is that people are already starting to speak out their worries about the new showrunner. The only thing I know about the new showrunner is that she used to be the showrunner for the CW TV show Supergirl, which is based off of the comics of Supergirl, which is pretty much just the female version of Clark Kent.
Yeah.
It was a really good show. It got really high reviews, and from what I understand, a lot of people loved the show and were really sad to see it like end.
Well, Andrea, how do you say her name, Brooks, or AKA Fate, was in that show. So
yes, she was in several seasons.
Worked with this person before.
Yes, so she's in several seasons.
Let us hope that Fate finally gets a decent storyline out of this. Like,
honestly, I think we do deserve to have a woman showrunner. I feel like she would definitely bring a whole different spin to it. Because I mean, not gonna lie, I'm not saying that men can't write good romance, but I feel like us women do it better. Sorry. I mean, come on. I'm not saying a man can be romantic or anything like that. I'm just saying, I'm not gonna lie, some of the romantic stuff this season kind of fell flat.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
I feel like this season was
I loved a lot of them
on last season.
Yeah.
There wasn't quite as much that like dropped through the cracks and whatever, but I still think it could be
I
better.
feel like other things that did not make sense is like, for instance, such an absent of Jada and such an absent of Fiona. Yeah. Because we know that they were both free, because the last two projects that Kayla has done, she's done with Kevin. Yeah. And Kevin was pretty much in every episode.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, she hasn't done any other projects that don't involve Kevin yet that we know of. But I mean, I feel like they would have already came out. Yeah. Same with Jada. Jada hasn't done any other projects. So I feel like they can't blame them not being available. So, I mean, that's something I don't really, that like just things like that kind of bugged me. But like I said, I'm looking forward to what she's going to bring to the table. Obviously, we're going to be very crucial and mindful of it and be very opinionated as always. So get ready for it. But I mean, the only thing that does worries me is the fact that Andrea knows this woman and like they've worked together before. So it kind of does make it does kind of make me worried about obviously future storylines. If you guys know what you mean, I'm trying not to jump ahead because I know we're only on episode 9 right now, but you guys don't know how I feel about a certain pairing of a certain couple that I do not support. So
we'll see. We'll see. But anyway, I don't even, guys, I'm sorry, I don't even remember like how we ended up. Yeah. Well, I'll go fast. Okay, so
drops off his laundry. Hickam is thinking of resigning. Abigail called Elizabeth to wish her a happy birthday. Yes. Walden demands Lucas to sell him the Queen of Hearts.
Yeah, when Lucas is leaving from the office, like he's headed out the door after his conversation with Elizabeth, after his conversation with Gustaf, he's like headed towards the door, and Walden and Spurlock walk in, and Lucas is like, can I do something for you? Do you want something? And Walden's like, yeah, I want the Queen of Hearts. Which, of course, he's already tried to get Lucas to sell to him, and Lucas refused to sell. So Lucas, while he was on the phone with Elizabeth, was, telling her, I need to talk to you about some stuff. So he goes to her house, and he's like, okay, I don't want you to worry, but Wyman Walden's back in town, and he's wanting me to sell him the Queen of Hearts. And she was like, how can he be back? Like I thought he left. And he was like, okay, there's something I haven't told you, and he kind of tells her some of what's been going on. She freaks out that he's been trying to handle this on his own. And
I mean, he gets, well, the biggest thing that obviously worries her is like going back to episode 8, I think, is when this happens. He gets jumped by some of Walden's guys, or Walden pays these guys to jump Lucas when he leaves Elizabeth's house. And I think the reason why he didn't want to say anything is because he didn't want Elizabeth and LeJack get involved, because they already he kind of threatened Walden, like, leave her out of it. This is business between me and you. Leave her and her son out of it. And them jumping him as he's leaving her house obviously did not sit well with him, because it's like they know where she lives. Obviously, it's not hard to find. They know that they're involved. It's just obviously wreaks of havoc. So
but I love when she's like, okay, we need to talk to Bill, so she's like, I'll tell Laura we're leaving. And she starts to walk off, and then she looks back at him and she goes, may I be worried now? Like, okay, you told me not to worry, now can I worry?
Yeah, it's such an Elizabeth line, by the way, because I feel like she's probably said that so many times to Jack. So I love that she's still, even though Lucas is not a Mountie, he's still like, she's still getting wrapped up in like business that usually a Mountie would be handling.
But I guess like the next scene, whatever, is Rosemary and Lee in the barbershop, and obviously Fiona is cutting Lee's hair, and Rosemary is getting ready to, thanking Fiona for making her barbershop available, I think the next day, for a day of beauty for Elizabeth. And she was like,
I think it was that night, wasn't it?
It might have been that night.
It was gonna be that night, and then like circumstances happened, they had to reschedule it again and again.
They're talking about how Elizabeth always likes to put others ahead of herself, and she doesn't really like to be fussed over and whatever. And Rosemary's like, oh yeah, and speaking of that, and because of that, and she walks over there and picks up a little tricycle, and she's like, I got her this. And Fiona's like, isn't it a bit small? And Rosemary's like, it's for little Jack. I figured as much. Like, just the whole little delivery there is hilarious, and so Rosemary. Like, just so Rosemary.
And I love that we finally got a scene of Fiona with Rosemary and Lee. I thought that was nice. I liked that. I liked seeing her.
A couple of them.
Yeah. I just like seeing her with more of the townsfolk besides just Hickam, because I feel like all of her scenes are with Hickam. Like, not going against Hickam at all. I love their friendship. I love it. Just saying. But it is funny, and I feel like that was actually a good idea to do because of her being such a don't fuss over me kind of person. And what mother doesn't like knowing that her friends are like fussing over her child? I feel like that was actually like a perfect plan. Of course, very Rosemary.
Well, Rosemary and Lee start talking about that Mr. Gilchrist has expressed interest in a meeting with them about their newspaper. And Fiona gets kind of concerned, and she was like, is this Arthur Gilchrist? And they're like, yeah, how'd you know it? She was just like, oh, kind of, I've met him before, but she gets really concerned, and she ends up going to the Mercantile and trying to call him. And I'm kind of skipping around scenes here, and I'll jump back to something, but I love when she is coming back to the barbershop, and she walks in, and Lee's freaking out because Rosemary's trying to cut his hair. She's like, I've cut your hair before. And he was like, exactly. Fiona takes his scissors away from her.
I love them so much. Like, I can't even describe. Like, their scenes just made this season.
I know.
Like, every scene that they had together, like the good ones, the funny ones, even like the little kind of heartbreaking, heart-touching ones. Like, I loved every minute of Rosemary and Lee. But they were so good this season. Like, they are every season. I swear there's not one season that these two are in that they are not good together. Like, like, it's crazy.
But
like,
I I love that like when Fiona is on her way back to the barbershop that Joseph, is needing help at the cafe, and she's like, well, I can help later, and so he kind of follows her into the barbershop, and they're talking about how busy he is and whatever, and Rosemary mentions that she used to help out at the cafe, and Lee's like, yeah, keep in mind she did more of a hostess role than actually serving tables, and she's talking about her theater experience and all this, and Joseph's like, great, did you learn any like short order skills in that? And she was like, no, but Lee makes an excellent breakfast in bed, so whatever. And Lee's looking at her like, would you shut up, so
like that
Joseph's
stays
like,
in the bedroom, seeing as it is bed and breakfast.
He's like, great, can you come help? He's like, yeah, sure. And so Joseph walks out, and Lee looks up at her and he goes, geez, sweetheart, thanks. She's like, oh, you're welcome, and kisses him, and he's just like, that was not a sincere thank you.
I love Lee. Lee is so like Kevin is incredible. I love him, and I love how so much of Kevin is in Lee and vice versa. Like, yeah. I mean, obviously, Kevin is probably a whole lot more funnier. Obviously, he gets to be a lot more funnier and like bold with what he says and like his comebacks, I'm sure. But I love when he gets to kind of be sarcastic, because I feel like that's when Kevin comes out.
Yeah,
I love that.
You saying that, there was, I don't even remember which character it was in the musical, the Wing Calls the Heart musical this year. I don't even remember which character it was, but the outfit they had on, I leaned over, I was sitting next to Joyce Keebler, and which a lot of Hardys will know who she is. Sorry, that's why I mentioned the name. But I leaned over to her and I went, that looks like a Lee Coulter outfit. And she just started giggling because it was like the plaid pants and whatever. I don't even remember what character it was.
That's funny. It probably was modeled after. You never know. She might have modeled it after them.
Who knows?
But, whenever it's that first interaction kind of happened, I automatically thought that they were maybe talking about like her ex-fiance, because that reaction and us not even really knowing who he is, and like all of a sudden they know someone, and like wasn't he from San Francisco?
I think so, yeah.
And like, isn't that where she technically was coming from?
That's where she just came from, but I don't remember where she came from.
I can't remember if it was San Francisco or maybe it was Chicago.
Yeah, I don't even remember.
I can't remember.
I can't wait to go back and rewatch this.
I know. I'm so excited.
We've forgotten so much.
I know. But my thought was automatically like, ooh, are we going to get the ex-fiance? Like, no way are we going to get the ex-fiance this soon up in all this, especially with her being so in and out. And sure enough, it wasn't. He's involved in the oil field stuff, which was really cool because like being involved, wanting to be involved with the newspaper, I was like,
yeah,
that's a very wide variety of talents you have there. To be able to be a part of newspaper and the oil field at the same time. Okay. It all connects to Hope Valley as well.
Yeah. Okay, but do you remember, this is like skipping back, because the barbershop scene was like, there were other scenes cut into that. Yeah. But that whole little exchange there was just too awesome. But do you remember when Nathan finds the sock on the steps of the Mercantile, and he walks to the drugstore and is looking for May? He can't find her. Faith walks in. He asks her, has she seen Faith, or has she seen May? She's like, no, I'm dropping something off. If I see her later, I'll let you know. I'll let her know you were looking for her. Sorry, y'all, my tongue is not keeping up with my brain. Or my brain is not keeping up with my tongue, one or the other. But he's like, by the way, Faith, you wouldn't be missing a sock, would you? She's like, what? He's like, never mind. Faith just walks out. She's like, as if I would wear, whatever it was, whatever the sock was. It was just hilarious. But I mean, it's Bill's sock.
Yeah.
Because he's the one that dropped his laundry off. But it's
Right.
hilarious. Like,
But
Nathan
I love that they're
ran
giving
off.
Kevin. I love that they're giving Kevin and Nathan like these kind of scenes where they have like a funniness to them, because I feel like so many of his scenes were always so serious.
Yeah.
So I love that they're finally getting to play around, because I mean, like I can't imagine being a writer or a director or anything a part of the show and not taking advantage of Kevin's like perfect humor.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, I would give Kevin so much freedom when it comes to his ability to, because he's like his timing with things and his reactions to things are so great. Like him and Kevin.
When he did the driving lesson scene and him
Oh
with
my god.
What does this do? Lays down on the horn, he's just like,
that was Kevin McGarry through and through. Like facial expression, him doing the face, like all of that. I didn't see Nathan, I saw Kevin.
Yes, 100%. 100%.
So if I was a writer or a director or a part of any of that creative decisions, I would give Kevin so much leeway with that.
Oh yeah.
Same with Kevin.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that. And like, I mean, I didn't like Faith actually know. Well, no, actually, I don't think she did. I was gonna say maybe Faith. I think Faith at the time knew where May was, but she wasn't saying anything. But
she found her.
She found her.
After Nathan walked out, she like stepped behind the counter to do something, and she saw May sitting like in the back, and she was like, "What's wrong?" And at that point, May tells her that she has to go back to Chicago. It is because Jeffrey is pursuing the false charges against her. So
which is so crazy.
Point, I know, so crazy. So at this point, Lucas and Elizabeth go talk to Bill about, you know, everything that Lucas has been trying to do to stop Walden, but you know, everything that's going on with that. And Bill's like, you know why he's back in town, right? You know, and Elizabeth's not really catching everything that's going on. And they're like, yeah, Lucas is like, yeah, there's something else I didn't tell you. And Elizabeth's like, what? You know, and Bill's like, don't be mad at him. I told him not to say anything, you know. And that's when they tell Elizabeth that it's possible that Walden and his whole gang there is wanting to reopen the mines. And they're like, okay, what can we do about it? And Bill's like, we let him buy the Queen of Hearts. And you can just see the looks on their faces like, wait, what did you just say? Like, you're actually going to go along with it?
Like looking around for Ashton Kutcher, like, are we getting punked right now back in the 1919s? Because this is not right.
Yeah. So
I think everyone probably had that reaction, like, who say what now?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like, had that reaction, especially coming from Bill.
Mm-hmm.
Who hated the fact that Lucas got Queen of Hearts in the first place. Mm-hmm. And now he's suggesting Walden gets it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember, like, watching Bill throughout this whole thing was just so fun. Bill was amazing in this episode. I always love Bill, but Bill was amazing in this episode. But I love the fact that he got Hickam to chew him out. Right? Where Walden would overhear him. Like, as part of the scheme, he's like, remember, let me have it. You know, he's like, I'll try. You know, so Walden walks up to the door and Mike and Bill are having this argument. And Mike opens the door and he's like, Mr. Walden, you know, and he's like, Mayor, you know. And when Mike walks out the door, as soon as he gets past Walden, you can see this little grin.
I love Ben. He is so perfect as Mike Hickam. Hickam is so great. Like, I love that he still has like this childness.
You heard me say, I just want Hickam. Like, I love Nathan, I love Lucas. I just want Hickam. Like, he's so cute.
Like, I can't blame Fiona for even like, or anyone for wanting to be with him, because like, oh my gosh, he would be he's so
was it Kevin that said he was Team Hickam?
Yes.
He's like,
every interview he was like, I think Hiccup, because like they would try and get like Lucas and Nathan or even Aaron, like which one do you want, and like who would you choose in real life or whatever. And like I love that Kevin was like, I've been Team Hiccup since day one. You've got this bachelor who's been in town since day one. Like he's cute, he's funny, he's reliable.
Ben himself, like you wouldn't necessarily think this to look at Hickam. First, I don't mean that in a bad way, but Ben himself is ripped. Like the man.
I love that there was actually one interview where Kevin's like, and have you seen his Instagram? Just like,
yeah. I loved all the pictures we've been getting to with Aaron and Ben and Kevin and Kayla all hanging out together and going on vacations together and stuff. And they were so cute.
I love that too.
Yeah. Do you remember though that kind of as part of the plan? I love that Bill like orchestrated this whole plan. Like he was the center.
He really got into his main.
Oh yeah. I love at the end of the episode when Nathan's like, "Well, you had me fooled, or you could have fooled me."
I kind of felt bad for Nathan because I feel like he's always left out.
But I love how Bill went and Rosemary thinks she can act. And she's sitting right there. That's what's hilarious about it. It's like, yeah, she thinks she's an actress.
I mean, because like I think Nathan was going into the saloon, I think, to talk to Lucas about something. Can't remember what he was coming to talk to him
Probably
about.
May, or either about May or maybe about the plea deal.
I think it was both.
Probably
because they had the kind of conversation where he kind of lets kind of confides in Lucas sort of in the car whenever he ended up being almost the person to teach him how to drive. I love that he's like, yeah, just reach out to me when you're ready to learn how to drive.
Yeah. But thanks for the driving lesson. Yeah, no problem. Like I just took time out of my day to cut.
I love when he's like, did Elizabeth at least teach you how to start this thing? But I love that he like, but I kind of like it kind of pained my heart a little bit because you can kind of see the clear hurt whenever he found out that Lucas indeed sold it, because like I can only kind of hear him saying like, because he was kind of like that the night that Luke there was a point where Lucas was going to sell it to Walden, and it took Nathan kind of talking him out of it. And then this kind of happened when he probably thought that they were actually good on, like, and
then when they tell him that Lucas left town, he was like, Bill, he's going to be back, right? Like,
yeah, like, hello, where have you been?
Like, he's not going to leave Elizabeth, just kind of. I love when the opening of that scene though was pure, like I could just picture Kevin doing this.
Are you the new Major D?
Yeah, he's like, I hope you're not the new Major D. To Spurlock.
Yeah, that would definitely drive away business in my mind.
Yeah, for real though. But I love actually
I think he was coming in to have a drink.
Yeah, he was coming in.
He was coming in there to have a drink.
Nobody else was in there. Nobody else was in there.
Well, they told him he was closed, and he's like, I'm here to see Lucas. It doesn't matter if like have or whatever. And like,
yeah. Okay, so Bill's whole plan, Walden is coming into Bill's office asking him, how soon can you get a quick claim property deed made up for the Queen of Hearts? And he's like, trying to put him off, and he was like, yeah, later this, today would be better. So Bill's like, okay, later today. And Walden starts out, and Bill's like, Walden, wait, he was like, and he starts into this whole thing about, I want to be mayor, all this kind of stuff. And Walden's like, what do you think I can do for you? And he's like, sorry, I can't do anything. And he starts walking out, and Bill's like, even if I could tell you I could get you the Queen of Hearts without paying a cent. And that, of course, gets Walden's attention. And he comes back, and Bill tells him, I'm done with the cafe. I'm tired of being a forensic investigator. I want to be mayor. I want to have something, I want to have some substantial money here. I want some security. I want control. And he's like, I love it when he's like, I hate it when people operate outside the law, which is why I've never liked you. No offense. Like talking to. And he pulls out one of his law books and, shows Walden how he's going to get the Queen of Hearts and run Lucas out of town inside the law. And so Elizabeth's day of beauty, Rosemary's trying to work on her, and Elizabeth is like gripping the side of the chair, and Rosemary's trying to do her nails, and she's like, why are you so tense?
Like she really has like a death grip like this on the yeah.
And Elizabeth's like, how can you tell? And Rosemary's like, well, I'm your best friend, but also I'm having to pry your fingers off of this, So Elizabeth, kind of, okay, this needs to be off the record, not talking to you as the, editor of the Valley Boys, off the record, here's what's going on, told. And this was when Elizabeth found out that Walden was a suspect in the attempted murder in Brookfield. And, so she finds out this guy.
Like she's steady finding out more stuff that her boyfriend is hiding from her. Like major stuff that could get both her and her son like killed. Like, I'm sorry, that would have made me mad.
He can do no wrong no matter what he does.
Right? I am sorry. Jack Thornton would have gotten his head bit off. That goes to show you that Elizabeth is no longer the same Elizabeth. Because you know good well she would have been busting up in that Mountie office, scaring the mess out of Rip, probably making Rip go whoo and everything else. Okay.
He would have been going and hiding under a bunk in his cell.
Yeah. He would have been locking his own self up in the jail cell to get away from her.
Yeah.
I mean, that like
probably call it for Bill.
Like, excuse me, what does it say here that you're having to deal with a man that is a convicted murderer or like a suspect in a murder? Mm-hmm. Like, excuse me?
Yeah. So Elizabeth tells Rosemary about the possibility of the mines being reopened at this point. Now it's at this point that Nathan is still looking for May. And he goes, I'm really confused about something right now, and I'm not even going to get into it. But anyway, that he goes looking for her, and Ned is working in the pharmacy, in the drugstore, and he's like, where's May? And Ned's like, oh, probably back at the saloon packing. He's like, packing? What do you mean? And he was like, oh, she's going back to Chicago. So Nathan goes to the saloon. May comes downstairs and Nathan's like, you weren't going to say goodbye? And she was like, of course, and he's like, what's going on? And she tells him, and he was like, do you want me to go with you? And she was like, you don't know how much that means to me, but no, like you can't leave Allie. I don't know how long I'm going to be. And he's like, well, I'll at least call the, deputy marshal, I'll make sure you're safe, whatever. And I wrote down what she said. She said, I'm not afraid of Jeffrey anymore, but thank you for caring. On the day I arrived, as I rode past you, my only regret is not letting you catch me. And he said, yeah, mine too. And
how can you not ship those two after they say that to each other? Like, I understand everyone has a right to their opinion. Okay, I totally get that. But I have seen so many people say that they can't see the chemistry between the two of them and that they only see like a friendship between what.
I'm just saying.
A friend don't tell another friend they wish they would have chased after them on a horse.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
That they wish they would have let them catch them when they chased them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. And I okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and get into it because I just can't hold it. I can understand why people would want, like, yeah, I get it. Okay, a Mountie and a doctor. I get the kind of storylines that they can get out of that. I get it. Okay. I'm not saying that I don't see what they're coming from. My thing is that you also could see a lot going on between a teacher and a Mountie, but you know what? Y'all thought that was boring. Okay. Second of
I
all,
still love Hickam and Faith together. That would be like the perfect pairing.
That would be perfect. Okay.
He's too accident prone to not be married to a doctor. I just say,
right? Like, come on.
Man, I love that guy. He's hilarious.
I don't know. Like, for me, I love the scenes that Nathan and Faith do have, but I can't see them being anything more than friends. And kind of being like those confidants for each other when it comes to like, because of them both having similar heartbreak and helping each other through that heartbreak and things like that. But my thing is this. Okay, if I'm not saying that Faith didn't see this, and she probably did, but the fact that May helped Nathan the most through his trauma, I mean, come on.
Which he thanked her for in that scene. Yeah, in that scene when she was leaving, he thanked her for helping him and for helping Newton. And she didn't even, like, he asked, could he walk her out? And she was like, you know, do you mind staying here? I don't want to say goodbye.
Right? I mean, come on. Would you be able to say goodbye to someone that you were starting to fall in love with, that you were starting to have feelings for? Like, I'm not saying I want them to like be like a instant courtship. Like, I'm glad that they're taking their time with Nathan's storyline and not automatically pushing him into someone else's arms. But oh my gosh. Can we please not do a dang triangle? Like, seriously?
That was a very popular consensus in Indiana at that Hardy's event. I will say that is that everybody pretty much agreed they better not do another triangle. All the fans were pretty much agreeing, yeah, don't do another triangle.
I honestly feel like they're only using May as a way of saying that they're going to trying to make us think they're going to give us a triangle, but really, like, it's going to be Faith. And I hate that. Like, I just feel like that's gonna. I mean, I just feel like I don't know.
Like with Faith, there are several scenes with Faith that you can see, like the looks and the like eye lock and whatever between her and Nathan. I feel like, especially after May leaves, I feel like Nathan is in a very vulnerable position. And I don't mean this against Faith, but I feel like she kind of took advantage of the opportunity. Which I'm sorry, but what woman wouldn't? What woman in her right mind would not take that opportunity? You see an open door with a guy you're interested in, you're going to take that open door. Like, I cannot blame her for that. But I'm saying, I feel like at this point, Nathan is in a very vulnerable position.
Okay, her and Carson were very serious. Okay, they were actually in a relationship. Okay, Nathan and Elizabeth weren't actually in a relationship. They never officially started courting. They never kissed each other. They never hugged. They never went on dates. None of that. Okay, Faith and Carson did. Okay, it was getting to the point where she thought that he was going to propose and he was planning on it. Okay. We have literally seen Faith get into how many relationships since like her beginning? Like, probably at least 3.
I would say 3 to 5.
3 to 5 relationships in her span of time only cost the heart. I'm not saying that she doesn't deserve.
We've seen them tease having her with Hickam this season too.
Yeah, they teased that as well.
We've seen them tease with Hickam, and we've seen them tease with Nathan this season.
Exactly. And so my thing is, this is like, I love Faith, and I do want her to find love. Like, I like the idea of her and Hickam. I do. My thing is like, I feel like it kind of came out of nowhere that she admitted that she was having feelings for Nathan. Like, her coming into Abigail's and having that conversation with Molly, I was like, wait, hold up. Because like, she was practically straight up saying love. And for me, I feel like that's a little too fast.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm sorry, but right now what's going through my head is, do you remember the conversation with this probably would have been season 7, I guess, maybe 7 or 8, I don't even remember. But when Nathan and Carson are standing out there on the porch, and like,
they're hard pie.
Yeah, their whole little exchange right there was so hilarious. I loved it.
That's another thing. Like to hear, like
But
I'm
both
sure
of them were pretty much talking about fighting for love.
yeah,
You know, it was pretty much their conversation, and then neither one of
exactly.
them, girl, that's pitiful.
Right?
I'm sorry, but who comes up with this stuff? Like,
I'm telling you guys, if that was their plan all along, they're horrible writers.
I could be wrong. I think it was Brian said something about that Nathan had some really great storylines this season, and I looked at the person I was sitting next to, and I was like, "What?" Like they literally gave him almost getting killed, a triangle, not even getting justice for the guy, you know, before almost getting killed. No,
To once again go grab Lucas out of the woods after he runs away.
although I will say that scene is adorable.
It's adorable. I love it.
Nathan and Lucas had some gold scenes this season.
They really did.
But I'm like, he never got just a completely happy, no.
Like I feel like once again, a lot of his stuff revolved, like other than the May stuff and like his accident, I feel like it was still somewhat like he was wrapped up and tangled in Lucas and Elizabeth.
Okay, I will say they did.
But I like that because like I feel like that's real. I feel like that's real.
Yeah, it is. But I hope we finally at some point get somebody that is willing to just let him be happy and not have to drag him through the mud all the time. Right. I will say they did give him one really good storyline this season. So I don't know, Dad. It's just the fact that Allie finally called him Dad. And
it's in this episode, we finally got some serious Mountie action, like that rifleman spin. I was like, yes. I was like, finally, where has that been in the last 3 seasons?
Mm-hmm.
Like I know we had the scene between him and like Allie's dad, which oh my gosh, him pitting Allie's dad up against the wall. I was like,
what was it he said right there? Like, don't you dare call her your little girl. She is not your little girl. You know, like
no, he said no, he's like, she is not your little girl. Like in that, yeah. But I just can't. Him and May, they had really good. Like obviously, the chemistry between them is not going to be like the chemistry that he has with Elizabeth. But like, I'm sorry, that hug in that jail cell was way better than the hug that he had with Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Okay, the emotion with it, the actual gratitude, and like that smile he had on his face, and like, you know.
I love the fact that he like actually, if I'm not mistaken, actually like just hugged her back instead of when Elizabeth hugged him. It was like he hesitated for a moment before he hugged her back.
Yeah, he actually it almost like he almost semi like sort of melted into the hug because he actually kind of leaned his head down just a little bit. Yeah,
I think Fate and Nathan have surface chemistry. I think they have surface sparks. There is definitely attraction there. There is definitely interest there. But him and May have a heartfelt connection of we've both been through a lot and we can help each other.
Yeah.
We're good for each other. We can help each other heal and we can help each other trust.
Right. And I feel like, everyone kind of just want to like look at what she was able to do to help Newton. Like I understand she's just a pharmacist, but I mean, come on. Without a pharmacist, a lot of doctors can't do what they know what they can do. Like you need a pharmacist and a doctor together. Without one or the other, it's like there's no purpose. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I'm just saying everybody wants to talk about how she's the doctor, he's the Mountie, like all the possibilities. Well, I mean, a pharmacist can bring a lot to the plate too. And I mean, and that's not all she is. So
this particular episode to me had a lot of very funny moments in it. But another one is when Molly comes in the mercantile and the Florence is struggling with the washing machine that's like moving all over the place. There's suds all over the floor. And she runs over there and unplugs it. And she's like, what happened? And Molly is like, or Florence is like, that monster attacked me.
I love Florence. Ever since her and Ned got together, it just seems like she's got like this whole new personality that I really love.
Well, and you wonder, like, maybe was this her personality before she lost her husband? Because we didn't know these characters before.
Exactly. Because like when we first met her, like she was very harsh. She was a very harsh, boldly like stated woman. Like literally the first thing we hear out of her mouth is pretty much telling Elizabeth, like, you need to get your little prissy tail out of here. Pretty much. So I mean, I love that, and like they're just so cute. Like Floyo is just like
they're the perfect couple that we never knew we needed.
Exactly. I mean, they're just, I love it. I mean, I love like her, like whenever she found out about the mines opening and how she really like, she didn't want to leave Ned's side. Like she didn't want to be separated from him. Like she wanted to like, no, like have like him comfort her. Like I loved that too. Cause I can't imagine how hard that was to hear that news. And then like having to have all those memories of her husband and then also having her new husband. And like being able to find comfort in her new husband when it comes to having to go through all that grief about her old husband. Because I can't imagine how hard that might have been also to do.
Yeah. Okay. Now, one other thing, and this has been like from previous episodes, but y'all remember that Lee co-signed a loan, didn't tell Joseph about it, and Rosemary warned him about doing that, but he didn't tell Joseph that he co-signed this loan in order, because they initially got turned down for it, and Lee pretty much called the bank and said, listen, I will remove all my business and it is substantial if you do not give this guy a loan, and he meant it out of the goodness of his heart. He meant it with the best of intentions, and he did not want Joseph to feel indebted to him, is why he didn't say it. He just wanted to be a good Samaritan. He didn't want any credit for it. He didn't want Joseph feeling inferior or whatever. Joseph finds out and confronts him and is not very happy about it. But I do love that later on in the episode that Lee, well, they have the conversation between Cooper and Joseph, because you can tell Joseph is struggling with this. And Cooper is commenting of how good of friends they have there in Hope Valley. And you could tell it just kind of resonates with Joseph at that point.
It gives him a new perspective as to how to look at what happened with the situation. Because, I mean, Joseph was right to feel the way he was, especially with especially back in those times, and even in today's world. It's very hard for a man to let another man do something for them in that kind of way, especially when it means to provide financial support for their family. Like back in those days, especially, the man was supposed to be the one that really brought everything to the home. He was the one that was supposed to provide the most support, the most wealth, the most, whatever.
Well, and Joseph knows darn well that the reason they did not get the loan is because they were Black.
Yeah.
And that is
the only reason why they gave them the loan was because Lee was not Black, and he had like a substantial helping into that company, into that bank.
Yeah. And I love that, that when Lee and Joseph talk about it later in the episode, and they're, kind of reconciling, that that Joseph's like, I know you can relate on the wanting to be the one to provide for your family without help and whatever, but there's a side of this that you will never understand, and I don't expect you to. Kind of, I get that, this wasn't how you were thinking of this, but I mean, we know just from stories in this season that Angela's blind because of racism, and it just different things they dealt with in St. Louis, I believe, where they're from. And so that's something that Joseph has in his brain. He has this ingrained in his brain. And it's hard for him to accept someone just wanting to help him out of the goodness of his heart, not because they had pity on him, not because they see him as an object of charity or anything like that. And they had to come to a mutual, look, man, I realize you did this out of the goodness of your heart. Yeah, I did, but sorry, I didn't consider how it was going to make you feel type agreement. And of course they hug and everything's all good. Now, we're going to get on our soapbox again for just another minute. I remember, and we are like way behind on posting this, and we realize it. But before I watched this episode before Morgan did, and she was almost scared to watch it because she was seeing people on Instagram blow up about how inappropriate this was. Like, people were up in arms about this episode.
I mean, I will say this, like, I wasn't as scared to watch this one as I was episode 10. Episode 10 was the worst one out of these two, but they are combined in what we're about to say.
Yeah. But like I said, I watched it before she did, and I got mad.
Yeah.
At that point, because what people were saying was not what happened. If there is one thing that I learned from this season, it is, do not go by what other people tell you. Watch it yourself and make up your own mind, because people were talking about how inappropriate this was. It's scandalous, it's whatever. And what I'm talking about is Lucas does spend the night at Elizabeth's house, and people are talking about how just like scandalous this was. You know, this is no longer,
like, she was in her nightgown. He was,
they literally made it sound like they were sleeping together.
Yeah.
Like, is that not what they made it sound
like? It literally gave me the impression that they weren't on the floor in my mind when I looked, because I didn't read that many of them, because I got to where I was like, I don't want to read any more of this. I don't like, you know, and I was telling Kerri about it. I was like, from what they were saying, it pretty much sounded like as if we were going to get to finally see what Elizabeth's bedroom would look like.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it sounded to me like they were in her bed together. Yeah. She was in her nightgown, little Jack was in between them, and he was in the bed. Like, I'm not saying anybody actually flat out said they were in the bedroom, but they weren't saying that they were just on the floor in the living room. And they didn't say,
she was not in her nightgown when that was happening either.
No. And some people were actually saying that she was in her nightgown. She wasn't in her nightgown until that next morning. But I think she even still had her robe.
Had like a little
robe. Yeah, she had her robe wrap that we've seen her wear so many times. But my first impression from those posts was that this was inappropriate behavior, and that they were doing something that she never even did with Jack, that we never even saw her do with Jack, and all of this kind of stuff. And like, they were like almost even saying that they were even implying that they were making out over with little Jack right there, and like all of this kind of stuff.
But that was not making out.
Right. I mean, like, the amount of how much people blew it up out of proportion was ridiculous. And it kind of, the first thought that came to my mind after it finally settled down, I was able to actually watch the episode and what it entailed. I was thinking in my head, I'm like, now what if I was the person that didn't have a friend that had watched that episode, and all I did was see those reviews? I wouldn't have watched it.
Yeah.
Like, you guys, I'm not saying people can't put their opinions out there. That's what this whole podcast is. Me and her getting on here, putting our opinions out there. Mm-hmm. My thing is this: put the straight facts out there first. Mm-hmm. Make sure you're putting the facts out there. First of all, she was not in her nightgown. They were not making out in front of little Jack. You know, they weren't like.
Can we also say that the reason he was even staying the night?
Yeah, nobody even put. By the way, nobody ever said the reason why. They just wanted to talk about how inappropriate it was.
Yeah,
and I'm like, but he had an appropriate reason.
The whole reason he even was at her house, which, by the way, Lee and Rosemary knew about, and they were right next door. So chill out, people. But anyway, but the whole reason he was even at her house is because in the plan to trap Walden, they ran Lucas out of town, per se. So he like waits till after dark, circles back, hides the car, and comes to Elizabeth's house so he can be close to town, and also so he can make sure she's safe. But I mean, he has gotten attacked right outside her house. Who's to say Walden wouldn't have come and tried to have kidnapped her little Jack, and nobody would have been there to, whatever. So he is purposely being there. He slept on the couch downstairs,
which he was too big for, by the way.
That was hilarious.
His knees down were like hanging off the couch. It was hilarious. But another point is like, and people were even saying like, oh, why wasn't he going, like, why wasn't he spending the night at Nathan's, or why wasn't he staying with Bill, or why wasn't he like, different things like that. And I'm like, well, first of all, he was there because he was trying to protect little Jack and Elizabeth. He can't do that while he was staying at Nathan's. Mm-hmm. Second of all, I feel like, they wouldn't, first of all, because of it being where they were, they wouldn't think that he'd be staying at Elizabeth's. They probably would have thought that he might have snuck off and was in Hope Valley staying at somebody else's house. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think even was Nathan a part of that plan yet?
No,
I don't think he even knew.
That's actually the next scene.
Yeah, the next scene is how he walked
into the saloon.
So like,
and you can see the pain on Nathan's face when he's looking at Bill like, I cannot believe you of all people are going along with this guy. Like, right. You are working.
Like the amount of betrayal that he felt.
Yes. Oh man, that poor guy. Like,
right.
For real.
But I mean, Nathan wasn't even a part of the plan. And another thing is like Bill was trying to make Walden believe that he was on his side. Yeah. He couldn't have had Lucas with him, staying with him. They couldn't take a chance on Walden going to Bill later that night.
Well, I mean, you can watch Spurlock kind of keeping tabs on Bill.
Yeah.
And, like, hey, I'm here to help, almost like bodyguarding, and probably in a way have
exactly. So there wasn't a whole lot of, and I'm pretty sure Gustaf stays at the saloon.
Probably.
So, I mean, just saying, there wasn't a whole lot of other options for him to go and stay.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, it made sense. It made perfect sense for him to stay there and protect the woman that he loves and their child and her child.
Yeah. And, well, like, I mean, if you think about it, season 2, Jack stayed out at the farm with Elizabeth and the kids. Granted, he's sleeping in another area. They're not sleeping together. She falls asleep on his shoulder out there. And so, I mean, and then of course this is granted after they got engaged, but they spent the night together in the church after he proposed to her. Obviously they're just sitting there on the pew, nothing happened. But people that are acting like, oh, this is so scandalous, this is no longer a family show, I'm just like, would you please get over yourselves? We've already seen this before.
And the next morning, everyone's going off about her being in her nightgown. First of all, she was in a robe. Mm-hmm. She was fully covered. She was not showing anything differently than what she wears on her day-to-day, everyday basis. Yeah. Okay. I mean, another thing is like, I love that. She went downstairs to get Little Jack, because Little Jack, of course, because they had been doing this back and forth thing where he jumps on top of Lucas as he is sleeping to wake him up, and he was like,
and she was trying to stop him. She was trying to stop.
Yeah. So I mean, it wasn't like she was going down there and be like, "Hi, Lucas," like, me and my napkin,
and being all flirty and like for real.
He only just sits on the edge of the couch and like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah."
And that was the most thing of it.
Can we also talk about how cute Holland is?
Hi, buddy.
As when they surprised Elizabeth with the cupcake.
God. That was
and they're singing happy birthday to her. And then he chimes in at the end with the and many more. Like, I have a feeling that part was not scripted because of the way they giggle at him. Like, it just seems like something he just did.
I know. It's so cute. I love that scene so much.
And the scene where they're laying on the floor, it's Lucas, little Jack, and Elizabeth laying there, and they're literally just laying there talking about and they're in their clothes, by the way.
Fully dressed. Blue
yeah,
Jack is literally in the middle of them.
Yeah.
They're laying on each side of him.
Yeah. So they're laying there and they're just talking about like Elizabeth's childhood growing up. And she asks Lucas to talk about his childhood, which is, of course, a lot more sad than hers. She had a lot more of a normal family life than he did. And she makes the comment, trying to find it here, I'm sorry.
I think something about like I hope you find the life you've always been looking for, something like that.
Oh, hang on. Sorry, y'all. I'm like looking through notes and I'm skipping over stuff. She says, someday I hope we might have the kind of life you've always wanted. And he says, this is the kind of life I've always wanted. And of course, they do kiss a couple of times. You know, they're in a relationship for crying out loud.
But it's not like they're like making out. Like I'm sorry. Yeah. I don't think Lucas or Elizabeth, either one, really had like a scene that ever even comes to comparison of Jack literally pitting her up against a building.
On Main Street.
On Main Street in front of everybody. Like, I am sorry.
That point, by the way.
Like, I am sorry. I mean, come on.
And he almost does the same thing when she's fixing up her row house. And he doesn't pin her up against the wall, but he does like keep walking toward her and she like backs up against the wall, you know, kind of scoots down a little bit. You know? So, I mean, yeah, people need to go back and rewatch these early seasons when they're complaining about these seasons now, because they're literally, I feel like, just looking for reasons to hate Lucas. Honestly, I feel like they're looking for reasons to hate this. Okay. Okay, the scene we talked about, Fiona having scenes with Lucas or with Lee and Rosemary. And the scene in the saloon when she's talking about, you know, that she knows Gilchrist and, you know, that she's kind of suspicious of why he would be there. And she was like, it's just kind of seems a little odd. And Rosemary's like, no, it's not. And Lee's looking at her like, would you shut? He's like, yes, it is a coincidence, you know. And she's like, oh, yeah, pure coincidence, you know. And then she talks to Fiona about, you know, since we didn't get to finish Elizabeth's Day of Beauty, would you mind if we came back tomorrow? And she was like, well, sure, but do you think she would be up to it? And Rosemary's like, oh, well, you know, what woman, even Elizabeth, wouldn't want a day of pampering and whatever. And Lee's like, sweetheart, Fiona may be right. Elizabeth may not be up to this. You know, Rosemary's looking clueless, and she was like, oh, because of Lucas, right? What was I thinking? Well, maybe I wasn't thinking, or maybe I was thinking that, you know, since he's gone, she might need something to distract her. I don't know. You know, she like just rambles on, and Fiona's like, okay, you know, she walks off, and of course there's the exchange between Rosemary and Lee. And he's like, okay, you know, I'm getting confused here, whatever. She said, I think the problem is you're starting to sound too much like me. And he went, oh, good Lord, I hope not. They are just so cute. They're so cute. And then, of course, we do, you know, everybody, and this was another one that people blew up over, is they were saying that Faith and Nathan went on a date because they had ice cream. And I'm like, okay, they literally are standing there having a conversation. They were like, they discussed marriage and they went on a date having ice cream. And I'm like, okay, they literally
says, I've never heard anyone refer to marriage as a to-do list. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a plum romantic conversation about marriage.
Yeah. And
they were both talking about the fact that they weren't even ready for marriage. Why are you thinking that an ice cream date was going to follow after that kind of conversation?
Yeah. And I mean, they did go in and have ice cream, but that doesn't make it a date.
No.
It's like we're having a conversation. We're standing right here, and she's like, care to discuss that over a bowl of ice cream? And yes, she was trying to hang out with him, but that doesn't mean he thought of this as a date. Like, you know, it wasn't like a plan.
Just because her intentions were to try and be alone with him and spend time with him doesn't mean that he had the same intentions or the same desire as well. Right. I mean, I think we can all agree as soon as that ice cream parlor became available, Nathan has been in there a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, and it could be a lot of it because of May, but I feel like a lot of it is because the dude just really loves ice cream. Okay,
2 scoops this time.
I mean,
And a cold.
exactly. Exactly. So I mean, come on. I think the dude just really likes ice cream. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
again, I gotta talk about the scene because I love this, but like obviously
Our little mascot.
obviously he wants his opinion heard. So I love that, you know, obviously he finally finds out what the whole plan is, and he's like, oh man, Bill, you almost had me fooled, you know. So they get the trap set for Walden and all of that. Well, they finally see things kind of start to come unfold, where you see like Nathan's like looking outside the Valley of Wesley Coulter building, and like he sees Spurlock and then coming up and everything like that. They go out the front. Nathan kind of stands guard in the back, all that kind of stuff. Well, Bill persuades Walden to get out of the car. They're trying, like, obviously still trying to go off with the plan. And I can't remember what caused this whole situation, but Nathan pops out. Obviously, Spurlock pops out. They're both at the guns. He shoots Spurlock shoots Nathan's hat off of his head. That poor hat has been through it. That episode, this season, his hat has been through it. Which also turned. Yeah, that was a new hat that he literally just got after his old one got squished by the car.
And he got one, and then he had to send it back, and then he had to get another one. This poor man, like
he just wants his dang hat, okay? Just leave his hat alone, people. And that obviously gets Walden to pull his gun out, which he had told Bill that he no longer had, that he supposedly lost. Okay, which of course,
I love it when Bill's like, "Yeah, here's that gun you supposedly lost. That's gonna make the attempted murder charge so much easier."
Yeah, and of course, Spurlock is like trying to drive off, and all that. Well, Nathan, of course, hops on Newton and starts like barreling after him. I love this scene. Like I love that he's like really getting into Mountie mode and like getting on his trusty steed, and he's like going off. Like, I mean, it's really cool how fast Newton is too. Like, everyone talks about how fast Sergeant is, but Newton's pretty fast too, and that's a huge horse. Like, I forget just how big Newton is unless you see Kevin on him. Because like when Kevin's on him, because we all know how tall Kevin is, so to see how small Kevin looks on Newton, you know that horse is huge. And so,
well, I mean, he talked about that because he's like, "I'm so big, they have to give me a ridiculous."
They had to give him a ridiculous horse. Yeah. And so, like, you know, he's barreling after him, and he's like slinging this rifle out like he's rifleman, like he's Chuck
Connors.
And I remember seeing that, and I'm like, I automatically thought of the rifleman because I work in a nursing home, and so like TV is like always on, and rifleman is literally on all the time.
Yeah.
And so I was seeing, I was like, yeah! I loved it. And like obviously Spurlock is trying to shoot him with like this little tiny pistol, and he's like shoots it out of his hand with the rifle trick, and then like does it like gets, which causes Spurlock to obviously have to pull over because like his hands hurt from it getting shot at. And so like, and then I love when Nathan like pulls up beside him and reels it again and like points it at him. He's like, what did he say? Like, get out of the car? Yeah. And like the face Kevin had, I was like, now that was a Mountie move.
Yep.
I loved it. Like, it just sent me right back to the scene that he had with Allie's dad in at the cabin, you know, and talking about how the Mountie always gets their guys. So I mean, I can't get over that. So
yeah. I love when Rosemary's like telling Elizabeth how exhilarating it is. And she was like, I'm actually running out of adjectives to describe this. That's how great it was, whatever. She's like trying to come up, give it a full whole thing.
Which I feel like says something for Rosemary to forget adjectives.
Yeah.
For her to run out of adjectives, it's good.
Yeah. I didn't really think it was interesting. I don't know why this like really stood out to me. But the fact that Lee said it was like a mystery novel, and you could just kind of see Elizabeth's look, I was like, like I guess just knowing she's a writer and him saying that kind of leads me to wonder if there'll be, something with that later. I don't know, just saying it's a thought. But I love how he's all excited.
They've got to find a way for her to continue to write.
Yeah.
So
I love how Lee's all excited though, and telling her how when Bill had confiscated Walden's gun before he went to Brookfield, that he had cut a little notch in the firing pin, so that basically made almost like a fingerprint, an identification mark, so they were able to match that up to a shell casing that they had found at the scene where he had, the attempted murder had taken place, which, pretty much sealed his fate on that. Yeah. And
it's cool because we know that they it was really cool to hear Bill and Lee and them consult with Gabe from Brookfield, because obviously Gabe is the Mountie in Brookfield, so it's kind of cool that they brought Gabe back a little bit. I would love for him to come over to Hope Valley for a change and getting to see him and Nathan again, because I loved the scenes that he had in season 1 of When Hope Calls. And then he even got a mention in the second season. So I thought that was really cool. So hopefully they'll keep going with that, maybe in the third in this next season.
What is it with young girls and Mounties? It's the red coat, okay? It's the red coat.
It's the red surge. Yeah. It's definitely the red surge. And then of course the bombshell that ends season 9, which is Lucas being accused by Walden of illegal gambling activities.
I loved it when Nathan says, Bill, I found this ironic that I'm defending Lucas here, but why would he show Walden a book of illegal gambling books of some folks in Louisiana?
I'm the gambling folk. No, I'm just joking. Obviously. Yeah, I mean, I think that really showcased the fact that Nathan was really, him and Lucas were finally kind of getting on some ground where, okay, you're not who I thought you were, and I'm not the person you probably thought I was, or whatever. Yeah, and he even says it again in, later episodes, talking about how he didn't see him as a fighter, he saw him as a poet. That he didn't see him as that kind of a person. He saw him as this very illiterate, very smart man, which is a high compliment.
Brain instead of brawn.
Right. So I mean, so I feel like that also just kind of ties in the fact that Nathan and Lucas are really actually trying to get to know each other, I guess, in a lot of ways, and try and understand their perception of each other could be wrong. And he's learning that his perception of Lucas has both, I guess, in some ways good, in a good way, has been proven wrong, but I guess in other ways been proven right. So whenever and I was actually expecting that not to really go very far, but then Nathan goes inside and finds the ledgers and comes out, and that's when Nathan's kind of okay, I was wrong, I can't believe I was wrong about you, I can't believe I was all this kind of stuff, which I think you can kind of tell by, and that's why I love Kevin too, is that he's really good with just telling you exactly how he feels through his facial expressions. And you can kind of tell that he was he was torn. A part of him didn't want to believe it. and he was disappointed too.
And yet he has the evidence right there in his hand.
Yeah, like he was torn because you can kind of tell that he was kind of torn because he's like, even though the evidence is right here in his hand, he still didn't want to believe it. I guess out of the fact of he knew that when this comes out, and if it is in fact true, how it's going to tear Elizabeth apart.
Mm-hmm.
You
well,
know?
I think he looks like he knows Lucas better than this. Like he might not necessarily be Lucas' fan,
and it might
although he did start a fan club.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, although Nathan did start the Lucas fan club, we he might I love that scene so much. It was hilarious.
I love snarky Nathan.
I know. It's awesome. But I think he feels like he knows Lucas better than this. Like, this just isn't you. Like, this isn't.
It also probably makes him kind of feel like, you know, because didn't he get promoted to like inspector as well?
I don't even remember, to be totally honest. I got so confused.
Anyways, it probably also kind of makes him wonder about his own skills as a Mountie. Like, is he starting to get soft now that he's become a part of this town and he's getting close to everyone? And, you know, he's letting his guard down when it comes to certain people in the town, obviously. Like, it probably even for a split second even made him feel like, maybe I got too soft. Maybe I'm letting my guard down. Maybe I'm not looking at everything like I should.
Maybe I'm not being as objective as I should be.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I'm letting my own personal feelings get in the way of my job. Mm-hmm. Going back to like the fact that, you know, I'm going to go ahead and say this right now. Yes, Elizabeth is the reason why Lucas is in Hope Valley, but Nathan is also a part of that too. Mm-hmm. So he probably also feels like, man, if I hadn't talked him out of leaving, mm-hmm. you know, like I'm sure a lot of things happened between then and then, of course, him being proven innocent.
Yeah.
Was probably a lot of that was probably going through Nathan's head. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's
episode 9, guys. If y'all hadn't already watched it, because I do know there are some people who said they were not going to watch the season, that they were just going to wait, you know, and see what we had to say.
We even had a couple say that after this episode they weren't going to watch again. They still watched it.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm not saying you're not allowed to. I'm not saying that you're not allowed to change your mind, but that to me only proves that you need to watch what you put out there. Like, don't say you're not going to watch something. Don't say you are going to watch something. Don't say, like, you know. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we pretty much from the season 8 finale said, yeah, we are going to watch, but if we can't get on board with what's being done, we'll stop watching, you know. But if we're okay with watching it, we'll keep watching it. You know, we're going to give it a fair chance.
Yeah.
And I will definitely say that this season to me was an improvement on season 8. I look forward to, hopefully, pray that season 10, that the new showrunner is better than John Tinker, because if not, I'm really going to be upset.
The only worry I have is obviously because she's worked with Andrea and everything, that's going to be kind of solidifying the fact that Nathan's going to end up being with Faith. That's the only problem I have, because I feel like for the most part, you know, her work with Supergirl, I haven't watched the full series. I've watched a few episodes, and I feel like they flow really good. I feel like a lot of the romances that happened on that show were really great. So I feel like, you know, as far as romance goes, and as far as like a good way, and like obviously with a superhero show, that's a lot of action. So I feel like that also kind of gets me a little excited, because I feel like we're going to get some more action out of Nathan. And maybe even other characters that we won't expect to be a part of the action. So, I mean, that's one thing I want them. I
want to see if Robert ever does decide to become a Mountie.
Yeah, I would love to see that too. Yeah. My thing is like, if you want to ask me one thing that I do want the most out of for Nathan's next storyline, is I want more Mountie stuff, but I want actual Mountie stuff. Like that, I know like him and Bill both kind of tease that there's more Mountie stuff, more Judge stuff. I feel like it didn't live up to that. Like other than this episode, I feel like there was still a lot more Mountie stuff we could have gotten.
Yeah.
So
and we had a lot with Nathan, but it wasn't necessarily
Mountie stuff, Nathan. Yeah. So, and they could even bring Gabe into the situation. Maybe the two form like, maybe something's going on that connects them both. Maybe something's going on that the both of them had to join forces because it's something that connects Brookfield and Hope Valley, or whatever. You know what I mean? For instance, Henry, like in that whole situation, maybe that's something that might bring the two together, because, like, we don't know what's going on with Henry and what is going on in that situation, because so I mean, I don't know. I if you want to know one thing that I want for the most to happen with Nathan's storyline is I want more Mountie stuff. I hope that with the new showrunner, she'll do that.
Yeah.
But I don't want his storyline to be consumed by the triangle and whether he's going to pick May or Faith or even Fiona. So
hopefully it's May. We do know we have already seen some like behind the scenes pictures that they're already starting to work on wardrobe and whatever. And we do know that Amanda Wong is back as May. I hope Paul Green comes back this season. We'll see.
Yes.
I hope Carson
throw a big wrench. They throw a big wrench. And Mom even kind of got that. I will say this. I don't feel like if he does come back, I don't feel like they're going to put him back with Faith.
No.
Mom actually pointed this out. You remember whenever Fiona almost left Hope Valley and Carson helped? Yeah. They kind of had a good bit of chemistry.
I can see it.
I mean, if I had to pick someone that was established, I'm not, and I can also kind of see Carson with May because of him being a doctor and her being a pharmacist. Yeah, it's a lot of possibilities.
Yeah.
And honestly, another thing, if they are not going to pick May, I want them to throw a wrench with having Fiona just come out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he lets Faith down gently and is like, look, I'm just not, I just don't feel that way about you. I cherish you as a friend and that's it. And then like he's like sitting outside and like maybe Gabe gets him a rocking chair to sit outside the Mountie station, and he's sitting there rocking in the rocking chair, and like Fiona comes in with one of the ooey gooey cookies, and it's like, here, make up for the one I ate.
Yeah.
And like they have a little bit
that
of a
scene that comes up in episode 10, and we'll fangirl over that in episode 10. But yeah, that one's a cute one.
I mean, I just feel like, come on, throw a wrench in there. Like it kind of feels like it's obviously going to be mainly between May and Faith. So it's like throw a wrench in there, throw Fiona in there.
I guess for me, I feel like as far as whether he would pick May or Faith, I feel like you're seeing chemistry between him and Faith right now because May's not around. But I feel like if you had the two of them if you had the three of them in a room together, I feel like Nathan would still be more drawn to May. I feel like there is a connection that the two of them have that him and Faith don't have. Although him and Faith have more of like a flirtatious type relationship, whereas they have more of a solid, I'm here for you type relationship. Like, I don't know, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, but I guess I'm also kind of a sucker for those kind of relationships. Like where there's actual benefits, like there's benefits between, like, I'm not saying that Nathan and Faith don't have any benefits with one another. Obviously he's a Mountie, she's a doctor. We obviously see that kind of a benefit. My thing is that, like for instance, like I see May, I don't see May sticking her nose in Nathan's business like Faith.
Right.
And, which that might actually be a point for Faith, because they could draw more stories out of Faith's nosiness. But my thing is like,
they've made a bunch of Hallmark mystery series off of that, so they can go with it.
My thing is this though, like I feel like, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Not like how it did for everyone else, but like in the next episode, whenever they're doing the whole situation with Lucas and like and then Nathan's stuff with his the guy that runs him over, and that whole situation, taking a plea deal or whatever, or swapping his victory for Lucas to get his victory and all that kind of stuff like that. Like how Faith kind of was like, Nathan's just like, I'm trying to just do my job. Like, I'm just trying to do my job. It's nothing against Lucas. It's not against anyone. It's me having a duty and me sticking to it, and I'm tired, and like him being tired that everyone's automatically thinking that he's making this decision and not being quick about this decision because of it being Lucas and all of this kind of stuff. And like Faith's just like, it's not like basically trying to like not necessarily sticking her nose in it. Like I feel like it wasn't as bad as everyone was trying to portray once again on Instagram. But I don't know, it also kind of rubbed me the wrong way because it's like,
it's not really your business. Not really your fight.
Right. Like, yes, you're his friend and he's confided you in his heartbreak and stuff like that, but don't stick your nose when it comes to Mountie business. That's a little far. I mean, I know Elizabeth has done it numerous times, but seeing as Nathan is not the main character and it's not Elizabeth, you need to back off.
Yeah.
So, but that doesn't, I mean, I don't see May doing that.
Yeah.
Not necessarily. I mean, I can maybe see her giving him like a little bit of a nugget of advice. Or something like that, if just from what she's seeing and not necessarily knowing for a fact or whatever. But I don't necessarily see her getting fully involved.
Yeah, I see May as the person that would be defending Nathan and not questioning his motives,
which he needs. He does not have that. Like May's the first person that has really stuck up for him and saw his mental illness and saw what was going on underneath the surface that even Nathan himself could not even resonate within himself. Like Nathan wanted to keep pushing it down and not wanting to talk about it like any other person. A lot of people would do, especially back in those days. Men didn't do that.
Yeah.
It's still to this day a lot of men don't want to talk about their feelings and things like that. So I mean, with May, he just felt that comfort of being able to expose that part of him, and that's not something that's pretty serious, or at least I feel like that's pretty serious.
I agree.
So, but anyways,
guys, I'm not going to guarantee you when we're going to get episode 10 out. I actually today found out I'm going on a trip that I was not planning on going on, and that's next weekend. And then Morgan's about to go on vacation with her family. And whatever, y'all just be proud of us that we actually were able to get together tonight and nothing fell through. I was having some computer issues. I have a new laptop, guys, and this is the first time I've like tried to set my equipment up and like really work with it, and it's not wanting to totally sync up. So if my audio is bad, I'm sorry. For whatever reason, my microphone is not wanting to work and my speakers still work and whatever. Somebody send me a tech guru because I need some help over here. But anyway.
I got off work. I went and had an appointment to get like my eyebrows done and things like that done for vacation, because we're also going to be taking family pictures. So, and then I got home, ate some food, took a quick shower while she was getting like her stuff done, and like we were actually able to record tonight. So just be proud of that, because trust me, you guys should know that it's a huge accomplishment for us. So we're proud of ourselves at the end of the day. And we're hoping to get it out to you guys. We want to get episode 10, episode 11, episode 12, however many we have left to do.
Well, this was 9, so we still have to do 10, which I did get notes made for today, by the way, finally. And then I still have to do that for episodes 11 and 12. And like that, I did finally watch Chris's movie from April back in there this Saturday. Hey, you should be proud of me again. I remembered to DVR Kevin and Kayla's new movie coming out. Cannot wait to see it. That one is going to be so awesome.
Excited. I feel like we're gonna I'm telling you, like Feeling Butterflies is definitely one of my top favorites that Kevin's done, because that was a really good
There's a different dynamic when a leading couple in a production is actually a couple. Like I love it when Carlos and Alexa Pinavega.
Which they're fixing to come out with a new movie where they both sing. Which, if you guys don't know this, Carlos, how he was discovered was he started out on Nickelodeon. He's in a band called Big Time Rush, who actually just came back together and did like a reunion, or they're actually on a reunion tour right now. And Alexis Pinavega, she's best known for being a part of Spy Kids. Well, I think it was after the first one or the second one, they did kind of a blooper thing that happened after the credits where she sang. Like it was kind of a funny like karaoke type thing, but she also sang in that. So like I can't wait to see them sing together in a Hallmark movie. I feel like that would be so good.
I'm upset they did a Christmas movie together and it was so cute, and they've never put that on DVD, and I cannot think of it was like Enchanting Christmas or something like that. Like it was
that's crazy.
I don't even remember. Like they did it several years ago and they never put it on DVD, and that made me so mad because it was such a cute movie. They danced in that one and it was adorable.
Oh, I remember which one you're talking about. Yeah. I didn't realize they didn't put it on DVD.
I've never been able to find it.
But I agree with it's definitely a different dynamic whenever you know that the couple is together in real life. I guess now whenever, like for instance, if I go back and I watch Chris and Julia's movie together, like that's how they met, that's how they fell in love and got together. It kind of gives it a whole new dynamic.
But yeah, so we do have things in the works, guys. We are hopefully gonna be able to get some more episodes out soon, but again, no guarantees. Thank y'all for sticking around with us and along for our crazy ride. Again, thank y'all for all the prayers and stuff. We definitely felt them. We appreciate them, and we love you guys.
Love you guys.
Hey, I actually can do the heart hands again.
Yay!
All right, bye guys.